Good Lord. What the hell was that? Anybody?
Professional operation, Dan. That was a professional
Keep you on your toes,
right
bud.
there.
Keep you on your toes.
My God. Hopefully it isn't a sign of things to come. Welcome to Santa Anita Road to the Derby Live. I'm Dan Tordjman with America's Best Racing, joined by my good friends, Bram Weinstein and Matt Bernier. So for the next 2.5 hours, if this technology holds up, we are your second screen, and we've got an action-packed day at Santa Anita. There's so much going on across the country right now. We just had the Gotham Stakes in New York. They're about to run the Tampa Bay Derby. We'll talk about all that, but we're going to be going live to Santa Anita momentarily. Live reports, live races, live betting with First Bet. You're going to get all of it right here. We want to hear from you. You can interact. You can talk to us. Tell us who you're betting, who you're liking. If you've got questions for any of us, let us know. We've got 5 races in total, starting with the San Felipe Stakes in just 15 minutes. We're going all the way through to the big cap, the Santa Anita Handicap, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. But we may as well kick things off because we are just minutes away from one of the big Kentucky Derby preps at Santa Anita. It's the San Felipe Stakes. Bram, how are you doing? Give us a little bit of a sense for who you're leaning toward in the San Felipe.
Well, I mean, the life is good as 1 to 9. So, I'm not a huge fan, of that to start with. And I have a story about that. I have some pretty decent inside information on that horse that I can share with you in a little bit. We'll call that a tease for now. But I was hoping, because that's the direction I'm going to go, I was hoping it wasn't going to be that awful of odds. So I'm probably going to go underneath him and try to make some money with some of these numbers that, reasonably, I kind of like Dream Shake, and reasonably, I kind of like Medina Spirit. But obviously, the world is telling us that Mike Smith's about to run away with this race. So clearly that's the pick that I have to go with. And I'll share my inside story from Mike Smith's mouth about that horse in a little bit.
All right. Looking forward to that. So Matt, Bram gave it away 1 to 9 on Life is Good. We about to get creative here?
No, not especially. I hate to say it because I do think so far out of all the prep races that have been run, I have a funny feeling this is going to be the most productive going forward. I just think overall, top to bottom, this is a really good group of horses assembled, and maybe they're not all going to be ready for that first Saturday in May, but I think you could be looking at some of the stars of the 3-year-old division all coming out of this race. So it wouldn't surprise me if something a little bit sort of creative or odd did happen, but I'm not expecting it. I think it's as simple as Life is Good goes right to the front. He says, come and catch me. I just continue to get whiffs of authentic vibes from this horse. And maybe the inexperience will get to him. Maybe potentially the other speed that's in the race will kind of sap him up a little bit, and maybe somebody can pick up some pieces. But kind of to Bram's point, I'm more interested in trying to hook some other horses up at a price underneath and maybe make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
You mentioned authentic. Last year, San Felipe winner went on to win the Derby in a crazy upside-down 2020. It was Baffert's 7th San Felipe. He holds the record most by any trainer. Surprise, surprise. Prior to authentic, the last horse to win the San Felipe and then go on to win the Kentucky Derby, well, it was 2014. We've got the video. We know there are a lot of fans of this horse. So let's show the replay of the 2014 San Felipe.
And away they go. California Chrome got an absolute flyer, and California Chrome straight onto the rail. Rider takes a strong hold, though. Line of horses coming to take him on now. And away they go. California Chrome got an absolute flyer, and California Chrome straight onto the rail. Rider takes a strong hold, though. Line of horses coming to take him on now. Unstoppable Coldie, School of Hard Rocks, Midnight Hawk is going to be caught 4 wide into the turn. Back on the inside is Sawyer's Hill, only 3 left.
All right. We are going to
spoiler.
Stop with that.
California Chrome won.
Enough.
We're doing that on purpose, by the way. We're doing a mixtape of the San Felipe 2014, Dan. It's the
spoiler alert. California Chrome wins.
Jesus. Here are your odds for the San Felipe. Race 6, at Santa Anita. We're taking you all the way through to race 10, the big cap, but this is the big one right now. Derby points on the line. We told you 1-5 on Life is Good. So he's drifting a little bit. He was 1-9 a few minutes ago. Let's see where that ends up. We'll go down the line here. A couple of nice horses. Some of these horses you saw a couple of weeks back when we were live for the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. And they're back here. We'll start with the 2-horse who is not in the Robert B. Lewis, but comes in, stretching out 6.5 furlongs. Now going longer for the first time, 1 16th. Dream Shake, the 2-horse, 5-1 morning line, 9-1 right now. The 3 Medina Spirit, who won that aforementioned Robert B. Lewis, 9-1. Big long shot here, none above the law. The 4-horse, 60-1. And you got the Great One. The Great One coming off a 14-length maiden win at, what was his odds there? Was it about 10-1? Went off the screen. I think we're about 10-1. Governor's Party, another long shot. And then Roman Centurion, who I thought Matt was going to go back to because he was big on Roman Centurion and the Robert B. Lewis. What's up? Why the cold feet today, Matt?
No, so I wouldn't say cold feet. And I don't know if you want me to sort of just give it all out right now. I'll tease it. We got a little bit of time. There's still 9 minutes until the race goes off. But it has more to do with the fact that I think Life is Good is the bee's knees. I do genuinely think this is the horse to beat, not just in this race, but perhaps for all the 3-year-olds all across the country leading into Louisville. So it's not that I don't think a horse like Roman Centurion can continue to improve. It's not that I don't think he might get a setup in here, because it's not like Life is Good is by himself on the front. But I just think he's going to have to take a pretty significant step forward here to win. I think he's much more likely second, third, fourth, as opposed to on top here today.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, look, if you're playing, I'm in a couple of contests. I mentioned to you guys before we came on here. I'm on Stable Duel. I'm also playing another contest on horse tourneys. I was looking for a little bit of a outsider, and so Roman Centurion I think appealed to me. Dream Shake did as well. We've got a couple of people who are watching the stream right now who like Dream Shake, and Bram, I wonder, as you look for creative ways to maybe I don't know, play an exacta or a trifecta. Are there any of these others that kind of jump out a little bit for building a ticket?
Well, I mean, it seems that everyone in this race likes the front run, or at least the ones that can win likes the front run. So someone's going to get caught doing that. And so I'm be very interested to see who does go out to the front here. And with the Great One, it feels like he's going to get caught, especially if he does that. And so that's why I'm not falling for that one, even off of the last race, which was a blowout. I liked Roman Centurion. I like a closer in this race. The question is he going to be too far back to come back for my liking? So, could he hit the board second or third because Life is Good is out there with Dream Shake or Great One or something like that? Sure. Like, who's he going to catch at the end? I think that the board is telling me everything I need to know with Life is Good. So I think it's hard to really go against it. If I was to take a shot here, Dream Shake feels like the one that I would go with. And that's part of the unknown about it because he's just so lightly raced. It's just kind of hard to know. That said, I did look at Roman Centurion and I was like, that's a good price and it's just getting better. I mean, I'll take double-digit odds on the back end of a ticket and feel pretty good about that. So that one feels right to me in an exacta trifecta situation. You get lucky and Life is Good doesn't win. Suddenly you made some real money.
So Andrea says no here. I don't know to which part of that, but apparently you struck a nerve there.
No, fine. Have your opinion. That's fine. Fine.
No. You know what? I like Dream Shake a little bit. And to me, this was the one, if you were looking to get creative, it was 20-1 on debut, rallied from off of it, won with authority. You could argue that they got a great setup there. Maybe he didn't beat much there. Who knows? But what you can argue is that he was 4 to 5 wide all the way around the track. Not only did he win, but he won big. I dare say we have a replay of that race. Let's attempt to show it. Let's show the Dream Shake maiden win. Let's see if this works.
What are the odds that this works?
80-1. Or not. This time we're not even going to attempt it.
As the field turns for home, Dream Shake, stellar move to the front. At the rail, Mr. Impossible. Bezos is in third, followed by Harvard Memories in the center track.
Oh, so close. So close.
You got the gist of it.
Spoiler alert, he won.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, he won, and he did it nicely. Matt, what did you make of that win? Is it one of those things where it's like, he got a great setup, he won, but that doesn't mean he belongs in this company?
No, not at all. I mean, he did have a setup. There's no two ways around that. There was a little bit of pace early on. And I do think it's one of those things that folks who look at first-time starters or specifically inexperienced horses, just first, second time, whatever it may be, he did break from the far outside. And not having anyone drawn just to your outside can be a major benefit for inexperienced horses in the afternoon where they have never really encountered this sort of thing where it's a stampede charge into the turn. He basically has nobody that he's got to deal with coming in on him or anything like that. So I think that was definitely beneficial. Having said that, on the far turn, that it's a I don't want to call it a metric, but people call it turn time. And when you can see the way that horses run as they take the turn, that's really when races are won and lost for the most part. Who can actually continue on through the turn as quickly as they were on the straights, as opposed to some of the horses who they just don't corner as well. For this horse to do what he did in his career debut, for Peter Urton, who is a quality trainer, no two ways around it, but I would say far from his specialty as first-time starters, for him to win the way that he did, I think that shows a bit of an indication of what the kind of talent this horse may have. Pedigree-wise, 2 turns should be right up his alley. The question to me is this too much too soon? But at the same time, if you're a numbers player, he's every bit as likely a winner as a horse like Life is Good, and you're going to get a giant price compared to the alternative.
Yeah, 8-1 ain't bad right now. Race 6 that you see on your screen right there, the San Felipe, that's our first race. We've got 5 races coming your way, though. You can watch the races here. You'll hear them. You could bet on them. We're going to talk about them. We want to hear who you're betting. Let us know who your pick is in this race. This is race 1. The next race we're going to is going to be a turf allowance. Then we're going to follow that one up by another stakes race. It's the San Carlos, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Then we've got the Kilroe Mile, which I don't know about you guys. I think that is a spectacular betting race, wide open. I couldn't tell you at this moment who the favorite's going to be. It is a wide open race. And then we end with the big one, the big cap, the Santa Anita Handicap, race 10. Going off in a couple hours. We're going to be live the entire time. We're also going to have live reports from Santa Anita. We've got a couple of people who are going to join us from the track, set the stage for us out there at Santa Anita. But as we continue to count down the minutes here to the San Felipe, one horse who, 6-1, I mean, look, and there's still time. I mean, we'll probably be bet down quite a bit. Medina Spirit coming off a real gutsy win in the Robert B. Lewis. I don't know what it was about that race that doesn't put him on par with Life is Good, considering he didn't miss catching Life is Good by all too much. Bram, what's your take on Medina Spirit at this point?
So I like him a lot. I mean, I think that number is enticing, 6-1 if it stays around there. I think there's a lot of options here. If Life is Good isn't going to bring the goods. I saw one of the comments in the chat where someone, I think it was Tom, said, in 2021, I vowed not to bet against Bob Baffert horses, when it's obvious that he's going to win. And I'm trying not to try to talk myself out of it. But I do think there's a reason to look at Medina Spirit and Roman Centurion and feel relatively confident that you're going to at least hit the board and have a legitimate shot here if Life is Good isn't that good, or gets out to the front with the great one and runs out of steam on the distance. So I like both of them and think that I think that's a reasonable play, and the numbers you're getting on them, even at when it was 9-1, 10-1, it felt like a no-brainer to take a shot with the 3 horse. At 6-1, it still feels like you're getting a really good value at that price. And I still feel like 9-1 on Roman Centurion is a decent price too on the backside of a ticket.
Yeah, Roman Centurion, Medina Spirit, 1-2, and it looked like Roman Centurion was going to go by in the Robert B. Lewis. I'm going to tempt fate one last time. We're going to try a new thing here. We're working on the back end. We're going to try a new thing here and try to show you the stretch run of the Robert B. Lewis. You're going to see Medina Spirit down on the rail, and you'll see the rally from Roman Centurion on the outside.
as the field turns for home. Medina Spirit called on now. Center of the track, Roman Centurion. Hot Rod Charlie is in between them. Roman Centurion, Hot Rod Charlie trying to run down Medina Spirit. They're inside the 8th pole. Between horses, Hot Rod Charlie. Medina Spirit, tough as nails. Roman Centurion on the outside. Roman Centurion, Medina Spirit, and Hot Rod Charlie. What a game victory from Medina Spirit.
We made it, boys. We got through one.
We're winners already.
Dan.
We're
I'm
winners
in.
already. Who
I'm
cares
in on
about our
Medina
bets?
Spirit now.
We've
I'm
won.
in.
It has to be a sign, right? It's got to be a sign. The good news is also for those who were like upset earlier that we couldn't get the Cal Chrome replay, I promise you, we've got 2 hours and 15 minutes left in the show. We will show you that 2014 San Felipe for all the Chromies out there. You're going to get to watch it in all its glory, the full race coming up after the San Felipe here, which of course, now you can see says 0 minutes to post time. They're headed to the gate. We talked about sort of the logical contenders. We didn't mention so much the 4-horse, None Above the Law. Ran a really strong Cal Cup Derby last out, had a perfect trip sitting just off the pace, but got caught late. This does feel like an awfully large jumping class for that one. Governor's Party was 120-1 in the El Camino Real Derby. He did pass several horses late. Those horses looked like they were pretty tired, though, so I would be extremely shocked if either of those two factored. That leaves us really to, I think, that the top 3 or 4 horses who we've talked about, and the sense that I'm getting from this group at least is that, look, life is good, is the goods. If you want to get creative and hammer a strong exacta, Dream Shake is a logical use. Medina Spirit, hasn't done too much wrong. So, you can look toward that one. And then, of course, Roman Centurion seems to be getting better the further he goes. He's one, who you could like here and you could like moving forward as well. Also want to mention, we talked about being on live all the way through the big cap. For the big cap, First Bet is offering a $20 money back guarantee. If the horse you bet to win doesn't win, but still finishes second and third, you get your money back. And we've each got a horse that we like in the big cap. We're going to discuss it, talk a little strategy for that race, but a lot of action between now and then. Like I said, some guests coming up in the next few races. Matt, we haven't seen you in a little while. Tell us what's up and tell us kind of in the month that we've seen you, what do you think about the way this 3-year-old picture is evolving?
I think to this point, and look, this race will either kind of continue down the path of my theory and my hypothesis of how things have gone, or it'll turn it on its ear. I think it's pretty top heavy. I think it's a good group of 3-year-olds at this point, but I think the top end is really where you're going to be finding the likely Derby winner. To this point, I just don't see anything underneath or some of the more fringe kind of contenders that appeal enough to make me think that all of a sudden they're going to jump up enough to go and defeat the best of the best or the fastest of the fast right now. Having said that, if things continue on and let's just say the favorites continue to win or perform very well, you all of a sudden are putting together a really nice group of 5 to 6 horses who you can make a legitimate argument for any one of them come the first Saturday in May. I recognize we still have roughly 6-7 weeks until the actual race itself, but I expect it to continue on this sort of formful way. And if that's the case, okay, maybe it doesn't become the best betting race, but I do think you're going to get a quality horse race no matter what when we get to Louisville.
Yep. The winner, by the way, race 11 at Tampa Bay Down. Yeah. Did you have that one?
No, well, I got to be honest. I didn't even really look at the race a great deal coming into it. But when I looked down and I said, who is this? That's usually not a great sign.
This has been a weird day so far, right? Because the Gotham was won by a 45-1 shot.
I didn't even know that.
So this is a weird day. We got weird things going on. So maybe Life is Good's in big trouble in about a minute.
It is weird. Yeah, we've got the video we're going to show you in a moment. We took it off the screen just for a second as we're tweaking some things on the tech side. We'll kind of tell you who those winners are that Bram alluded to a moment ago. The winner at Tampa Bay was Helium, trained by Mark Cassie. ridden by Jose Ferrer, upset at 15-1. And the one at Aqueduct, I was happy to see this as a Maryland homer and rooter. And Bram, you'll be excited about this. Trevor McCarthy, who's ridden almost exclusively in the Mid-Atlantic and started his career in Maryland, he won the Gotham Stakes with Weyburn, paid $95.50 for a $2 bet.
Wow.
Where was Chad's horse? Anywhere?
Let's
Highly motivated.
I'm pulling it up. Did not finish third. Third.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So, yep. So, look, crazy things so far, as Bram said. Will we see something crazy here at Santa Anita? We're about to find out. Let's pull this back up. You're about to watch the San Felipe Stakes.
And they're off. Life is Good flies out of the gate, takes command at once. Medina Spirit has some natural speed, and so does the great one on the outside of Dream Shake. Then it's Governor's Party. None Above the Law. Roman Centurions at the back. About 6 lengths off Life is Good, who sprints away. And Life is Good has opened up a 3-length lead. Medina Spirit is in second. The great one inches up outside of him. Then it's Dream Shake 3.5 off the pace. Governor's Party is on the outside of None Above the Law and Roman Centurion at the back. They head past the 5/8 pole, chasing Life is Good, who's loose up top. It's now a 4-length lead. Medina Spirit, the great one on the outside, kept in the clear. Dream Shake is at the rail, has 5 lengths to make up, coming to the half-mile pole. Then None Above the Law, followed by Roman Centurion and Governor's Party. Heading to the 3/8 pole, it's been all Life is Good, sailing along with a 3-length lead, Medina Spirit. At the rail, Dream Shake, the great one outside that pair, then a big gap to Roman Centurion. A 1/4 mile to go, and Life is Good has a 3.5-length lead. No one's coming close. Dream Shake on the inside, then Medina Spirit and the great one, top of the stretch. Life is Good, 4-length lead. Now it's 5, and it's all Life is Good. He's passing.
No, I mean, this is racehorse.
I'm watching the battle for second.
Unbeaten
Now,
and untested as he rocks in the.
Gotta be honest. Don't love him being in the 7 path.
Medina Spirit.
Well.
But, I mean, that was.
Between the great one and None Above the Law. The final time, 1 minute 42.18 seconds.
Yeah, listen, I mean, the world was telling you that was about to happen.
I mean, look, Smith can't pull him up.
Look at that.
Yeah. So, listen, we're all looking for something that isn't going to happen. So that's fine. I mean, look, that is a horse that needs to be reckoned with, right? It's going to be reckoned with. And that was not a bad field he was up against. And it was never close, not even remotely ever close. Like Medina Spirit clearly on that first turn moved a little bit to the outside to try to prevent the great one from getting to the front. That was clearly done on purpose because I think they were probably concerned that if he got out there, he might get loose and have a possibility. And that was clearly a game plan there to try to make him stay wide, and it worked. But the problem is Life is Good is too much better than everybody else right now and far better than this field. And it makes you wonder what the ceiling is. I don't know what it is after seeing that.
Yeah. Look, you see those splits. I mean, the thing is, those are decent splits. Those are good splits. But when you see a horse like Life is Good, I mean, he wasn't. That's not like he was at any point asked to put up 46 and 4 for a half. Like, I mean, that's just what he did. And he could have probably done it a second or two faster. He's just that fast. And if you can't keep up with him early, and he could settle down and do 3/4 in 110, then there's no way of catching this horse. So we'll see if any other players show up between now and Derby Day. But at this very moment, this is your Kentucky Derby favorite.
If I'm if you're looking to really nitpick here. You're true. Well, I mean, I think that's what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to. It's easy to sit here and wax poetic about how unbelievable that performance was. I think if you're trying to poke a hole, you go, why were you in the middle of the racetrack when there was nobody around you? I mean, that's not. Again, I'm not saying that's going to end up leading to something, but a little bit peculiar, especially for somebody Bob Baffert's horses, the thing about them that is always the hallmark, I can say the same thing for a trainer like Todd Pletcher with his younger horses. For the most part, they are the epitome of professionalism. They go out there, they do what they're supposed to do, they change leads, they do everything on cue. When a horse does something a little bit different, and I'm not saying this was unprofessional, but when you're out in the middle of the racetrack, which for the most part is untouched outside of the start of a race from the 9-hole, well, it's a little bit odd. But having said that, when you watch the way the horse runs through the wire and the fact that Mike Smith looks like he's going to get his arms pulled out of their sockets trying to pull him up, you have every right to look at this horse and say, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to sit here and say he could be as good as a horse like, certainly Authentic. If you want to throw a horse like Justify into the mix, I'm not going to throw out, the other big horse's name yet, but this is I think there's a real chance that this is a legitimately special horse.
Matt, to your point, I think, also when you combine it with what happened in the Sham where he allowed Medina Spirit to sort of, it didn't look like Medina Spirit was ever going to win that race, but, he did, kind of give up some ground late to Medina Spirit. So maybe you can argue, look, he's still a horse that's learning. He's still a horse that's playing around a little bit. How much of it's related to fatigue, we're going to find out as they continue to go longer with him. So, but it's something to take note of. Certainly something to take note of. I see two of our guests right now in the green room. Ashley, we're going to ask her to hang tight for us for a few more minutes. We're going to bring in one of our live guests, though, at Santa Anita right now. I'm super excited to have someone at Santa Anita join us for this stream. There he is. Mr. California, Gary Fenton. How you doing?
Hi. Well, thank you, Mr. California. That's never been said about me, but I'll take it. My family's been here for 100 years, so I think we've earned it.
No, absolutely. And look, you're the chairman of the board. You literally are the chairman of the board for the Thoroughbred Owners of California. Gary doing big things, as always. You may know him and you may recognize him from Little Red Feather Racing. They've got a horse coming up in the next race, which, of course, we're going to talk about. But first of all, Gary, welcome in. Set the stage for us, since you're our man on the ground right now. What's it like?
Thanks, guys. It's great to be here. I'm literally standing right in front of Life is Good. He just walked by me. And, Matt, I agree with you. I think there's something there. I was watching. I had that angle, almost that head-on down the stretch, and I was wondering why he was so wide. That is not typical of a Baffert horse. And he continued wide after the wire. I mean, it was a little strange. If you had to nitpick over what was just an unbelievable race, where he just dominated over some horses that I really, really like. The Great One had looked fantastic in the mornings. The Simon Callahan horse had looked fantastic, and he literally was head and shoulders over them. So it was as impressive as you could see on television.
Gary, is there anyone, since you're on the ground there and you've been watching, obviously you've had the luxury and joy of seeing the 2-year-olds coming through. Now is there 3-year-olds. Is there anyone else based there who has caught your eye aside from Life is Good?
Unfortunately, they were all in that race, and I have to go back to the drawing board and find some new ones to possibly compete. But that's what's great about the Triple Crown Trail and the Kentucky Derby Trail is they start weeding them out, and the better ones start rising to the top. And that's what makes the Derby so great, is all of them at the top in one race, the first Saturday in May there.
Gary, I mentioned that you are the new chair of the Thoroughbred Owners of California. Let's talk about what you guys are doing and what the past, year plus has been. It's been challenging, as it's been everywhere. But in talking to you before setting this up for you to come on today, there was a lot of good news that maybe people are not aware of. So I wanted you to get into that a little bit.
Well, there's been, as you said, it's been a long couple of years for us here in California. We had what happened here at Santa Anita in 2019, and then around the country, around the world after the COVID last year. And what we saw last year is this change from betting on track and betting at the satellites to really 100% online and through the ADWs. And you saw those companies really just, I use the word windfall because they were there and they were providing a needed service, obviously, to the industry. But they made more than they had normally done. And for people out there who don't know, the dollar, every dollar that comes in is split generally between the racetrack and the owners that go to purses. And that money comes in different sizes and shapes. And when they bet on track, more money is for purses. When they bet at satellites, more money is for purses. When they bet online, a little bit less goes to purses. So while handle was great last year around the country, especially here in California, the bottom line to purses actually wasn't as big as it could have been. And so the owner sat down with the ADW companies, and we had some frank discussions about the money that they came into last year, and what, if anything, they would want to do to flip back to us in 2021. As we've seen, better purses lands better field size, lands a better handle, which in turn would make for bigger revenue for the AD companies anyway. So they recognized what had happened in 2020 and with COVID, and we ended up making what is a deal that I've never seen before. We're calling it historic. The ADW companies, when entering the new deal to accept bets in California, actually put in what will end up being up to $15 million directly into the purse account upfront as an additional payment. And that has really just spurred purses here in California. Santa Anita, in anticipation of that purse influx, raised purses 10%. Field size went from 7.2, I think, last year to almost 8 now. Del Mar just announced a summer program that like nothing I've ever seen before, with maiden special weights at 70,000. So we're super excited for that. And you just come full circle with everything that we've been through over the last couple of years, the real buy-in by all the owners and the trainers and all of the horsemen in regards to equine safety. And I think we're just, as they would say, trending really positively here in California.
Hey Gary, in thinking about reopening at some point, whenever that's going to happen, hopefully maybe by the summer, the fall, whatever it may be in the coming months, as you spoke about all of the money that's going online, as you think about the experience there, and maybe this is a better question for the racetrack operator themselves, but I'm curious just your perspective on it. When the doors do open up again, as you think about what the experience is for people who want to attend live in person when they can, how is that being rethought when we start reopening again around the country?
Well, I think you're right. I think that's a real good question for Nate Newby here at Santa Anita, and Josh Rubenstein and Craig Dato and all the great guys down at Del Mar. I think there are definitely a lot of talk about winning the customer back. They're home now. They are betting online, and if the experience isn't there to take them away from their home and back to the satellites or back to the racetrack, then I think we'll lose out. We're hoping that everybody's been home for a year. The attendance here today, well, there's not really attendance here because it's owners only, but we see more owners here today than we have in a long time. And the satellites here in California started reopening a little bit more and more over the last couple of months. We're seeing people return to that experience. So whether it's the experience that they miss and they want to and they want to go back to, will certainly be part of it. But I think you're right, Bram. I think the ownership and the fan experience at the racetrack can be improved, and we certainly need to worry about that as we try to bring customers back to the racetrack.
Matt, I'm going to open up your mic here. If you,
Gary, the business side of things certainly is a very important piece. Now, knowing my sort of background, I'm on the gambling side of things now and trying to get some sort of a tip. And I don't want to spin us off into the next direction. But obviously, we alluded to it. You have a horse involved here in this next race here in Rip City. Let's talk a little bit from a tactical standpoint. Not a ton of speed signed on in here. The horse drawn to your inside, the heavy favorite, looks, I don't want to say it like a one-way speed because the horse has come from off of it in the past, but your horse is one who has a little bit of early foot as well. Do you envision sitting off a little bit, or are you going to get involved early on?
I think, first of all, our horse has been training well. Mario is an excellent rider, and he does like to be forwardly placed. We had won 4 in a row. We had teased trainer Mike Pipey that no Little Red Feather runner had ever won 5 in a row, and he blew that for us in the last race. And we hope to make amends here. But no, this horse is going to be forwardly placed, and like we tell Mario, who's been riding for us more and more. Thank you, Paul Redham, for that. We're going to let Mario kind of decide. If for some reason we're the only one to break, I think we'll be out there alone. And if we see the horse inside of us get the jump, Mario will have no problem taking right behind him and hopefully make another run.
So what happens these days is Billy, we know that, there are fewer people at the track. I'm assuming Billy's still out there for all these days. Do you try to, are you walking all your winners in, or is he still wrestling you for that?
Well, we had to put it in his contract that he had to give me limited airtime. I have to fight for every second of airtime with Billy, and it's in the contract. So this is part of it. And then there's a couple of more things. No. It's just a two-man shop, and we're out here at Clocker's Corner every single morning. We have about 80 horses under management and 300 partners, so it's a full-time job for us. We like to be at every workout. We film every workout. We send comprehensive updates to all of our partners by mid-morning. It's a lot of work for both of us. So he's here working hard, and I know he likes all three very much.
We talked about you as the executive, the owner, involved in all facets of racing in California. But truthfully, the one thing we haven't really talked about at all is that you're a handicapper as well. I mean, you're one of us. I've seen you at the NHC. I've seen you at all the big contests. Let's just kind of look ahead briefly, if we could. And I know you got a horse running here, so you probably spent most of your time worrying about this race. But the big cap. You got Maxfield's coming in, a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz around that horse. But you've also got a couple of nice locally trained horses, locally based horses. Wonder what you make of the big cap. Again, historically, one of the biggest races in California all year long. We're super excited to be able to show it to everyone watching here live in a little bit. What do you make of the big cap?
Well, first of all, I do. I like the fact that I'm proud of the fact that I'm an owner. We are breeders. We're in the stallion game, and I'm a horse player. I love being a horse player. I tried to make it to the NHC 4 years ago. It was a lifelong dream to do it, and I've done it, and I've done it now 4 years in a row, and I love it. If you want to look though at the bottom of today's Santa Anita contest standings, you will see my name there today. We're not doing that well. So take what I'm about to say really with a grain of salt. East Coast shippers into California have tended to be doing a little bit better than probably we hope as a California person. So in that race, I'm going to look to a guy who I grew up with, who actually has an East Coast horse being shipped in, and that's Aaron Wellman's Eclipse Thoroughbred horse, Independent Hall. That horse has been really just in fine form, and I think is my pick for the race.
Oh, Bram perked up.
Well, I am perpetually at the bottom of any standings of any handicap challenge, so we have that in common to start with. And so this is probably, misery loves company because I like him too. I'm kind of all in on Independence Hall in that race.
Yeah, I'm gonna save a little money for that one.
Spoiler: I'm sure you could take a look out into the score, into the tote board out there and kind of see what your odds are. But we'll just run through it real quickly for this upcoming race. Your horse right now, sitting at a nice little price at 5-1. Rip City, the 3-horse.
Yeah, I don't know what Matt said, but everybody in the world, the people listening, it must be worldwide because they're hammering that horse on the inside. I think maybe he is going to be low speed and probably better. And obviously Richie Baltz is a tremendous trainer. So,
yeah. What do you think about the 6 Tripoli in this race?
I think Tripoli's fine. Sadler and Moronis, deadly combo usually, and you can never count it out. For this kind of a horse, after we've won the 4 straight, we've always thought if our horse shows up, he's going to be very, very tough, especially on the front end. The front end has been doing very well out here. And so I'm really looking at our horse more than anyone else. But it's a really, really solid game.
Yeah.
Before you hopped on, Gary, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty playing some of our replays. One of the replays we wanted to show is not of a horse running today, but of California Chrome winning the San Felipe in 2014. It just got me thinking, were you a Chromie yourself?
Oh, of course. Are you kidding? It was a great time, and a very, very interesting horse, and a lot of stories and whatnot and around that horse, and obviously I was a big fan. Remember, Little Red Feather started as a small company. We just had one horse at the time, Singletary, and 13 partners, and we've grown into what we were. And we felt a little bit like California Chrome back in the day, just the horse that everybody kind of looks past, and better breeding and blue blood and whatnot. And so we felt a lot in common with that horse.
Well, we've promised the viewers we're going to show that replay in full again, now that we've got some of our technical issues sorted out. Gary Fenton live with us here on Santa Anita Road to the Derby Live. Gary, you've got a horse that's about to run in 10 minutes. We'd be cruel to keep you any longer. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
guys.
Gary, good luck.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
To see you.
You know, Dan, the good part about having technical difficulties is you can make promises that aren't going to happen, and no one knows that you're lying about it. So coming up soon, Tom Brady will be getting the live stream any minute now.
Hey, for anyone and I don't want to take over here for a minute, anybody who's curious about trying to put into perspective times and potential speed figures and things like that for what we just saw with Life is Good, it's too early to tell just based on how the track is playing effectively. But the second race today on the main track was a mile and a 16th route, the exact same configuration of what the San Felipe was. It was for older horses and quality older horses. A horse called Mastering won that race in a final time of 1:40.386. He typically is a low 90 kind of horse. You would assume, all things considered, he's probably right in that same ballpark again here with this afternoon's performance. I could be wrong. Somebody can correct me if I am wrong. I believe the clocking for Life is Good was 142.16, which is effectively 9 lengths faster. So if we're talking 9 to 10 lengths faster than a lowish 90 kind of horse, you're probably up into the 110 range ballpark from a buyer speed figure standpoint. Don't hold me to that, but you're probably in that realm. I mean, that would put him among the faster horses we've seen in probably the past 15 years at this point in their campaign, if that ends up checking out that way. We still have a ways to go, and maybe we'll find out the track is very, very friendly as far as clockings are concerned. But if it looks if you're trying to make little comparisons, which I think it's a good exercise to do if you've never done it, I think there's a real chance that race is going to come back unbelievably fast.
And that's a phenomenal spot. And I will say also, having watched that race earlier, Mastering was under a heavy drive through the stretch, being asked vigorously throughout to get up and win that race. That wasn't quite the same case with Life is Good. Very different kind of experience for that horse. We are about to bring in somebody else. I'm super excited. Right? I see Dog in Frame too. So for all the dog lovers out there, you're about to get a little extra here. There she is. Hey, Ashley.
How are you guys?
It's Ashley Mayo joining us live from Florida. A little better reception than we had last week.
Yeah, that's because I'm not at the track and I have Wi-Fi.
Looking good. Do you want to introduce your friend there?
This is my mutt, Nola. She's behaving for once. Also is kind of looking at me like, can we go for another WALK? And that's not happening. It's raining here. So yeah, I went to the track for a bit this morning and this afternoon, and I saw the clouds kind of roll in, and I made an exit, a quick one. So,
well, you've been showing up in a lot of different places lately. For those who don't know, I'm gonna let you discuss it a little bit. You've got a fun, new, exciting job that we were excited to hear about. Of course, you spent all this time with us last year doing these live streams. And then next thing we know, you got this big fancy corporate job. So tell us about it.
A little different than the bank job and all of, I guess, the side hustles, as I call them. So I work now for First Racing. I'm based out at Gulfstream Park as a project lead. When I started, I had an idea of what that is. It changes every day, but that's the fun thing. I work for Aidan Butler, the Chief Operating Officer. So I think of it as like kind of a soup of the day job. There's all different projects that kind of affect all facets of the business and things that you might not think of on a regular basis. So right now I've probably got 5 or 6 different projects on my plate and just kind of managing all of them and doing some work on it. So very different than going to work in downtown Buffalo. It's pretty nice to roll into Gulfstream Park most days, weather, pending on that. But it's been exciting. I started on the 1st of February.
Hey,
Bram,
don't
how about
underrate
this one?
downtown Buffalo. Don't underrate downtown Buffalo.
I mean, mind you, I hadn't been in the office in like 10 months and I had to go back to get my stuff on like the gloomiest day. And I'm like, wow, don't miss this at all. But
Well, look, I get it. It's not Boca, okay? Like, I understand. But Buffalo is a touch underrated, actually. I think a touch underrated.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think like people think that it snows like 10 months of the year. It's not that extreme. And I think the summers
9.
are
It snows 9 months of the year. Yes.
Yeah, 9.5.
But like, there's this area, I don't know if you know this, Dan, but there's this area in Buffalo I like that's kind of almost alt-punk rockish. And I loved going down there when I visited Buffalo. I have a working knowledge of Buffalo, Ashley, of Buffalo.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Well, Ashley, I mean, you're the guest right now, and so we do want to talk a little bit about this allowance race because there's some value to be found in here, I would imagine, given the fact there's a 1 to 2 horse, and there are a lot of big fat prices on the board that maybe we can do something with. But before we jump into this with you, just wanted your quick reaction on Life is Good, the San Felipe.
Well, I was in the backstage area and I heard Matt's comments. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was a great performance, but the horse was, I don't know, halfway up the track and looked like kind of how people drive on 95 here a little bit in Florida. Not so bad, but there's some greenness there. So I wonder if, we'll see some more progression from this one, but I mean, still a pretty big performance overall.
All right. So this race, as we mentioned, we got a mile here, turf allowance, sentimentally a friend of the show. He just saw a moment ago, Little Red Feather Racing, Gary Fenton got Rip City here, the 3-horse Whisper Not, expected to be out on the lead. Is there anyone who could press that horse? Anyone potentially off the pace that you're interested in, Ashley, in this next race?
I, hate to bet favorites when I can try to beat them. To me, it came down to the 2 and 3 in here. I really didn't see anyone else. I liked Rip City off those performances, but, looking at Whisper Not, I mean, everyone knows, it's no secret. I go by buyer numbers. I look at the buyer numbers, and they kind of stand out a bit on paper. And just seeing this one last time out at 1 1/8 miles and now cutting back to a mile, I think that's an advantage for this one. Pretty freaking speedy last time out going 1 1/8 miles, kind of looking at the half one and 45 and 4 and then 109 and 4 for 3/4. So I think the 2 is going to be extremely tough to beat. And that's disappointing for me because I see 3 to 5 and I'm just going to sit back for this one.
I'm going to assume, Bram, based on the question you asked Gary, that Tripoli has caught your eye a little bit here.
Yeah, I like Rispoli here a little bit. I like their horse. I like Rip City a lot. If someone's gonna win here, I like Rip City a lot. But Tripoli has caught my eye a little bit. He got nailed in his last race right at the wire. I think he's, I think this is a very top heavy field. I really only think there's a few horses that can legitimately win. I agree. Whisper Not is probably the heavy favorite, and I'm going to talk myself out of that one too, just like I did with Life is Good in the last race because I'm trying to make some money. But I think there's an outside shot with Tripoli. I like Rispoli here a little bit.
Last time we saw this one, Tripoli in particular, at 1 mile, ran a really big race, traveled pretty wide all the way around, showed a nice turn of foot, just got nailed late by Rip City, who we've talked about quite a bit here. I like this stretch out back to 1 mile. I think that should suit him. And again, Rispoli, I don't know if it's just this show or if it's just what he does all the time. He seems to just love the turf course there. And he's just extremely good. I mean, he wins on any surface, but he's that much better on the turf. Tony is asking for something that I can't guarantee today. This was lucky last week, a bit of stroke of luck last week. But what I will tell you, I do have a bit of a value play in here, and I want Matt's reaction to this. The 7-horse, Gauguin, hasn't won in an awfully long time, but he usually shows up with an honest effort. 1 for 27 lifetime, all right? But he's finished 2nd or 3rd in 17 of those 27 races. This is his first race on the circuit. Has run almost entirely in New York. So we'll see what we get here, but was 2nd in a first level allowance going 1 mile in September. The horse who beat him came back to win a stakes race at Woodbine in his next start. I thought the jock booking here was interesting too. They get Giroux on this horse. Excellent turf rider. 18 to 1 right now. That's kind of juicy for a little exacta play maybe. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. I think he's a prime candidate to run 2nd or 3rd, especially at the price. And to your point, I mean, he's certainly not one to have his picture taken very often in the afternoon, but he likes to get involved and get a piece of this thing. So I agree with you. I look at him as a prime example of an underneath key Now on top, I think it is going to be difficult to get around the 2. The only thing I'll say is, even with the turn back and distance, each of the past 2 starts, he's been really keen early on.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to go. There's really no 2 ways around it. That's part of the reason I asked Gary that question about Rip City, because even with the turn back and distance, I wonder if there's a scenario where Rip City can sit just off the 2's flank. And if the 2 is just too keen early on and kind of just takes a little bit of the starch out of himself, maybe Rip City is in just a perfect position to inherit this thing. The only other horse that I was mildly intrigued with is down on the inside. That's the 1 Club Aspen, 15-1, ran into Whisper Not in that most recent start. I understand Whisper Not was the one who set the fractions that day, but first time in a long time going 2 turns for this horse at 1 mile and an eighth, and made a move into the teeth of the pace, flattened out a little bit late. If you do get a little bit of company early on with Whisper Not, maybe this time around, shorter distance at a big price, maybe Club Aspen can also get involved.
I like it. After this one, we've got back-to-back graded stakes races. Stick with us. Lots of action coming up. You're going to see those races here. We'll have the sound and video, and we will also be sharing some bets coming up for the big cap, where you got a $20 cash back guarantee with first bet. If your horse finishes second or third, we're going to each share our picks for the big cap coming up, as well as the next 2 races. Really good competitive stakes races coming up. As you can see, the horse is headed to the gate here, getting ready for this nice allowance race at Santa Anita. One other horse I just want to mention who we've not talked about much, Fantastic, the 8 on the outside. I thought he could potentially be a little bit of a pace player, stretching out from 6 furlongs here. Has shown a little bit of speed early in the past. I don't know that he's fast enough, obviously, to keep up with Whisper Not, but it'll be interesting to see how much pressure he could put on. And, this is going to come, I think we'll know pretty early here, based on the way that the pace is unfolding in this race, whether it's Whisper Not or something else. So here we go,
right.
The 7th race.
I'm on the record here. I'm going Rip City. I'm going with Billy and the boys. All right, I got Rip City.
Let's go.
Rip City is out quickly. Club Aspen.
Heard
Whisper
that.
Not in the 15, and there he goes. Whisper Not takes over. Just behind them, Tiberius Mercurius, followed on the inside by Fantastic, who's made it over to the rail and is tugging pretty hard. Tripoli is nicely settled toward the back of the field, and then Gauguin. Around the first turn, and Whisper Not sprints away. He's opened up 5 lengths already on Rip City in second.
However this plays out, this is the kind of horse. The problem is he's just too damn fast for his own good.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody with. He's got 10 lengths at this point.
Is this the last race, or is this a replay, or is this a current race?
That is not Life is Good.
Opened up a commanding lead. Rip City is in second.
Boy, 22-4, 45-1. All right, let's see.
He's trying to obviously the field.
Did he have to go this fast?
10 lengths clear is Whisper Not around the far.
I think to Matt's point, though, this horse just needs to go. I mean, that's just.
But it's still Whisper Not.
And maybe he'll be able to hang on late, but
Tripoli has made steady progress, taking third. Then Tiberius Mercurius. They're at the top of the stretch, and
Rip City's in with the shot.
Down to 4. Rip City will try to run him down. These are the 2. They're followed by Tripoli.
Okay. Come on, baby.
2.5 length lead. Rip City's coming at him now. Whisper Not or Rip City. Whisper Not digging in gamely. Rip City can't get him. And it's Whisper Not all the way. 3 for Flavien Prat. Rip City was second. Third to Tripoli. Tiberius Mercurius.
Nice call with Tripoli, Bram. We're in a nice race. Just nobody was catching Whisper Not.
It's just chalk so far, Dan. Your 50-1 horses aren't happening today.
Look,
get real creative, Danny boy. Real creative.
I've been saving it. I got plenty in the tank here. I've got all sorts of fun horses coming up in the next few races. So stick with us. Ashley, I've been talking about, and you probably heard of it when you were in the green room, that we had these technical issues with showing some of the past races. Well, we sorted all that out, which is super exciting. It's especially exciting because I have the California Chrome replay ready to go. Were you a Chromie?
I liked him. I think I liked him further on.
No, you were not a Chromie. I could tell based on that reaction.
Wait. I liked California Chrome. I don't think a Chromie would not be how I labeled myself. I liked him. I don't think I was on the bandwagon like other horses I've been on. But I think after the Derby, he was a horse that next time out, I was excited to see run. But I was not a fan from the start.
All right, very diplomatic. You see, you're a corporate woman now. You gotta say the right thing.
still speak my mind, Dan. Don't worry about that.
All right, let's take a look back, finally, at the
Corporate
24
PR rewired you so quickly. It's amazing.
This is false. This is false.
This is how I answer questions now.
the 2014 San Felipe. Here it is.
And away they go. California Chrome got an absolute flyer, and California Chrome straight onto the rail. Rider takes a strong hold, though. Line of horses coming to take him on now. Unstoppable Colby, School of Hard Rocks. Midnight Hawk is going to be caught 4 wide into the turn. Back on the inside is Sawyer's Hill, only 3 lengths off these leaders. And there goes Christo getting a little closer on the far side. That'll leave Recanted last. 7 lengths covers them all. They move to the 3/4 pole, and California Chrome on the inside and Midnight Hawk. Those two now open up on them. They go clear by 4. School of Hard Rocks third, Christo on the far side. Unstoppable Colby has the white blinkers, and down at the rail is Sawyer's Hill. They're a good 6 off that leader, and then another 4 back to Recanted. They run past a half-mile pole, and California Chrome in front 3 parts of a length to Midnight Hawk. They still well clear. They've opened up 4.5 lengths on School of Hard Rocks. Unstoppable Colby between them and Sawyer's Hill at the rail. Christo is now a good 8 lengths off the leaders, starting a run on the far side, and Recanted is still last. They've run past the 3/8 pole, and it's still California Chrome and Midnight Hawk stride for stride. It's 4 lengths back to School of Hard Rocks and then Christo. They're at the top of the lane, and California Chrome now kicks for home, and California Chrome opens up to lead by 2.5. Midnight Hawk battling in second, but it's all California Chrome as they come for home. They would need to sprout wings to get to California Chrome. Absolutely romping in under Victor Espinosa. San Felipe was a walkover for California Chrome.
Well, you know what California Chrome didn't do? He didn't end up in the 10 path.
Now, do with this what you will. Jay Privman tweeted out that Mike Smith theorized that it was because of the infield monitor that he's done this. He got kind of goofy in both of his runs in the afternoon going 2 turns. He doesn't do it in the morning because the infield board is not on in the morning. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but again, do with that what you will.
At least it's an explanation.
10 path is a concern, but you know, I guess it's March 6th, so
He still won by 50 lengths, you know. We're nitpicking a little bit here. That's like this feels like the Usain Bolt thing where he was like laughing for the camera when he was breaking a world record, and they like caught that picture. And they're like, "Well, why were you doing that?" And he's like, "Because I could." Basically, because I could.
I have one comment because when I was watching this replay and listening to Bram before that saying that I'm very PR, here, I will take a firm stance on this, okay? Just going to let you know. I was not a huge California Chrome fan in the beginning, but here's a hot topic. When he finished second in the Classic at Santa Anita, the Breeders' Cup Classic, I was like heartbroken. I was rooting for him so hard, and the horse that won, I was never a fan of, ever.
Oh, see, and I'm the exact opposite.
Fight this out. Fight this out.
I didn't mean to shame you into that.
The horse that won. The horse that won.
All right.
Couldn't even name him. The horse that won.
I'm not an Arrogate fan. I just never really got behind him. And I feel like I also had some PTSD because during one of his races, I guess that would have been the Pacific Classic when he ran off the board, right?
The following year, yeah.
Yes. I was a mutual clerk on the weekends in grad school, and I got like cursed out horribly when a guy went to go place like a several $1,000 show bet on him because I had to count the money before I could punch it. And this guy ripped me a new one. And then afterwards I smiled at him real big, like, "You're welcome." So maybe that played into it too, but
this is the Ashley we know and love. This is the Ashley we know and love. Exactly. Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show. That's awesome. All right. So look, glad we got the Chrome replay in. And it's big because we have, we spent a good amount of time curating some really relevant replays leading up to the big cap. We're going to show you those in a few minutes. Of course, 2 races before the big cap. And those are the San Carlos coming up next here, 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's race 8 at Santa Anita. And then race 9, the Frank E. Kilroe Mile. Really, really nice turf race. I mean, that's one tough to make heads or tails. Let's pull up the screen here to take a look here at the San Carlos odds. Matt, let's start with you here. What do you think? Let's see. Your favorite at the moment is down on the rail, Storm the Court. We all remember that horse. We saw him win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile a couple of years back. They've tried everything with Storm the Court, right? They've tried the turf. They've tried long. Now they're trying a little shorter. Oy, what do you think? Storm the Court, return to form here?
I mean, I don't see it. It doesn't mean that he can't, because let's be honest, this isn't a star-studded race here. Anything can happen, but to date, he is only one, I guess with the exception of the career debut, but I mean, he came from a half length off of it. I think he needs the lead at this point in his career, and I'm not convinced that he's fast enough to get it here, especially with the stretch-out horse who, I don't want to call him a stretch-out horse, but Brickyard Ride, I'm not convinced that he's going to get 7/8 of a mile. He's unbelievably fast. And with his presence in here, I just can't imagine Storm the Court being fast enough to get to him. In my opinion, he needs to go 1.5 miles on turf. I'm not going to, it is what it is. And I'm not saying that as a negative thing. No, I'm not saying that as a negative thing, but I think Storm the Court is the kind of horse who let that natural speed where you can get out to the front and it feels like you're just kind of a stayer. I don't think he's a brilliant horse. I think he'll run all day, but he also needs to have things his own way. I don't think he's going to get it here. I don't think this is a brilliant sort of renewal of this race. I was more interested in Urton's other horse, the 7 Exalted. I think he's a little interesting in here. If you're a figure player, he's too slow. I think he's going to get a little bit of a setup, though. And again, in a race where I just don't love anyone, I want to take a horse who I think is in good form, who could potentially take a move forward here in his third start off the layoff at this sort of distance. And, 6-1 right now, he's actually taking a little bit of sneakier money than I would have thought. I haven't looked at the will pays yet, but that's kind of where I was going in a race where no super strong opinion, put it that way.
Exalted 10-1 on the morning line, 6-1 now. And Matt, you may not see it going on, but in our chat right here, we have some huge fans of Brickyard Ride, the horse that you mentioned, who we think is going to be out front, gate to wire. A bunch of people here really loving the 6 horse here, and I think 8-1 is surprising for now. 21 minutes to post. There's still some time. Bram, what do you think?
Well, the last couple races tell me that if you do get out in the front, you do win. So until proven otherwise, because most horse races don't go like that, but until proven otherwise, I think Brickyard Ride's got a shot here. I'm with Matt here. I actually don't like him at the distance. I think that's a problem here for him. And I basically wrote down, you give me 5-1 or better on Storm the Court, that becomes value to me. At this point, it's not. And I don't like him either. I'm the same way. I think this one's very much up for grabs. I like Tigre de Sluggo. That's probably the one I like the most at this point. I'm not going to get a great price on him. And I'm with Matt on Exalted too. I think that this is a step up and that worries me, but Mike just won, so we'll see. So I like that shot. And I got a little bit of a shine on Loudmouth. I'm going to dive in a little bit more. We got 20 minutes to figure it out, but that 8-1 is standing out to me and starting to scream, throw some money on me.
Yeah. I mean, plenty of excuses. I think whenever he hasn't shown up, there's been a reason. So I like that one. I do like Tigre de Sluggo, as you mentioned, the 9 horse on the outside. I think he's looked better with each and every dirt start. Probably ran his best race last out when he flew late to snatch second in the Cal Cup Sprint to Brickyard Ride. If you watch that replay, he had this miserable time in behind horses. He was, trapped on the rail. He had to steady multiple times. And we talked about it last week in trying to find value. And this isn't necessarily a big price. We talked about it last week. You do find when you watch replays, you can find trips that aren't really, you wouldn't know that they were terrible trips just by reading the PPs. And I think that was one in particular where, I'd have flashing red lights near this horse for what he overcame in that race. Not only did he close about 6 lengths into Brickyard Kitten in the final quarter, he also galloped out way ahead of them and just looked really powerful. So, look, I think this horse with a clean trip, he's drawn the outside here, isn't going to get caught on the inside, you wouldn't think. I think makes a lot of sense, especially if they push Brickyard Ride, who I may have called Brickyard Kitten, which I sorry for the confusion there. Ashley, what do you think?
To me, I mean, the 9 would be the horse to beat, in my opinion. I mean, if you can just discard the turf effort, the horse wanted no part of the grass. Everything has looked pretty good. I like the effort last time out, career best buyer. For me, it's just having that really strong closing kick I like. I know we've talked about the 6 having kind of the speed on paper. I mean, the horse loves Santa Anita. I'll give the 6 that. I just think the question here is going to be the 7 for a long distance. And it's a little bit of a classier group. But Matt and I agree. We've gone from disagreement to agreeing. I love the 7 here. Kind of lightly raced when you look at the rest of the field, especially some of these horses. But the horses he's faced and that have beat him, they're all really respectable, even though he hasn't even, tested stakes waters, even like an ungraded stake. I mean, look who he was second on debut to. Take what you will with that. And just his other horses, Mastering. I liked the race last time out. It was at the 7 for a long distance. To me, I don't want to say he's the wise guy horse. I was hoping he'd be a little bit better than 10-1, but I knew he was going to take some play just based on what he's shown in a limited amount of starts. So for me, I love the 7 here. I thought the late pick 4 sequence, which gets kicked off here, is a great wager. I think it's a great bet. I told myself I was probably done because when I was in the backstage, I was betting other tracks and firing. I thought I was done, but now I'm actually going to think about, playing a pick 4 here. And for me, I'd probably use the 7 and the 9.
All right. Well, to hit this pick 4, you're going to have to hit the 10th race, the Santa Anita Handicap. And we're going to start setting this race up a little bit for everyone watching. We will have all of these races live, the next 3 races leading up to the Santa Anita Handicap, including that race. And the headliner, no doubt, is Maxfield, undefeated, 5 for 5 in the career. Brendan Walsh trained. Florent Giroux, his rider, comes in to ride specifically today. And we've got a replay of his most recent race. It was the Mine Shaft. It was a grade 3, coming back, second race off the layoff. Let's take a look at how Maxfield finished up in the Mine Shaft.
Here comes Blackberry Wine, Maxfield. They have first run for the quarter pole. They swallowed up Dinar, Sonoman, Enforceable, Chest Chief toward the inside. Maxfield's move. Maxfield down at the inside. Blackberry Wine, 3/4, 1 minute 13.06 seconds. Maxfield asserts. Maxfield has taken the lead from Blackberry Wine, but now they're into this final Fairgrounds furlong with Sonoman in third. Chest Chief and Dinar. They come past the 16th with Florent Giroux. Here's Maxfield. He's now 5 for 5. Maxfield, magnificent in the Mine Shaft. He won by 4.
I was looking the other day. I was just kind of scrolling through Twitter, which is not very healthy to do on most days.
No.
Scrolling through, and I happened to catch a couple of comments about, oh, yeah, Maxfield, that's great. He's going to be 6 to 5 because he beat Sonoman. I don't know what it is about this horse. I mean, obviously, he was hurt last year, and the Matt win kind of derailed his hopes, on the Triple Crown Trail. But it just doesn't seem like this horse is getting any respect. No one talks about him. I was watching a show earlier. Said, well, look, he's one of the best. You got to imagine he's one of the best horses in the classic division, one of the best older horses. But I don't really hear people talking, and people are looking to try to beat this horse today. Matt, are you trying to beat this horse today?
No, but to be fair, it's not because I think he's some superstar. It's because I just don't like anybody else in here. And look, Maxfield, 2 things can be true. That he's probably a little bit disrespected based on what his career has been thus far and the sort of numbers that he's earned. But it can also be true that he hasn't really beaten a heck of a lot as far as quality is concerned. And what happens when the waters get deeper? This is an ouchie horse who's making his 3rd start in a matter of roughly 3.5 months. And now he's going out to 1.25 miles to a track that he's never seen before. So I'm not going to fault anybody that wants to take a shot against him. My concern is who are you going to do it with? I understand. I get the logic for an Independence Hall who seems like he continues to improve. I'm still not convinced about the distance for him. I think he's more of a one-turn horse. I look at Kiss Today Goodbye. I think everything just worked his way into San Antonio. That was the day that Mucho Gusto just never fired his shot. That was disappointing. Express Train, I think, is logical, but is he a superstar? No, I don't think he is. So basically, the logic for me is I don't think Maxfield loses simply because I don't think there's anybody else good enough in this field to beat him. Having said that, if we get to Saratoga and somebody else shows up, I could see him being entirely vulnerable with an undefeated record.
You mentioned that race with Kiss Today Goodbye, a couple of races back in the San Antonio. Also wanted to take a look at that race. It sets up a good conversation as well about another horse named Idol. So let's go ahead and take a look back at the San Antonio.
Kiss Today Goodbye trying to rally on the inside of midcourt. They're at the top of the stretch. It's Take the 101, Mucho Gusto on the outside. Idol running a big race down at the rail, a furlong from the finish. Idol coming gamely. Here's Kiss Today Goodbye finishing very strongly in the center of the track. And Kiss Today Goodbye swooping up on the outside, and he's going to run them all down. Kiss Today Goodbye beats Idol.
So for me, I liked Idol out of that race. I thought he was pretty gutsy down on the inside, and if you follow Idol through into the next race, the San Pasquale, he gets moving real late, but again he finishes up real strong. That's 1 1/8. They're going 1 1/4 here. In terms of looking for a horse who's going to love every bit of this distance, this is a Curlin who is just going to relish it. Idol 6-1 in the morning line, one that stands out to me. And then Kiss Today Goodbye. I mean, what was that? Is that, is he more of the horse that we saw there? I mean, where if he gets the right setup, he can close and win? Or is he more of the horse that we saw on the Pegasus? Or can you chalk that up to not being on Lasix? Of course, they're not on Lasix here either. So I don't know what to make of that. Ashley, I'm going to throw both of those horses at you. What do you think of Kiss Today Goodbye and of Idol?
I'm not a huge Kiss Today Goodbye fan. I didn't like the Pegasus. The race before that, obviously, we just watched it. Big performance, was a step up from the prior race, 3 starts back. Idol's my horse that I'm going to try to beat Maxfield with.
I like that.
I would not single Idol. I have to use Maxfield if I'm playing the pick 4 here. That'd be silly in my opinion. But to me, they're the 2 horses. Looking at Idol, another one that I think we're going to see maybe, progress here. I love the effort 2 back. I think the distance, I don't have any, questions about the 1 1/4. You've mentioned that, right? The race at 1 1/8, he's won at 1 3/16. To me, he's the next logical horse. I agree with Matt, Independence Hall. I don't think he wants to go 1 1/4. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits the board here, just looking at the other horses in here, but I don't think it's because he is 1 1/4 horse by any means. And I will say, looking at the Pegasus, he was third. He was beaten by 3 lengths. I thought he got a pretty good trip in that occasion. Nixco, obviously impressive. I really like Aziz's team. I've been a huge fan of that horse, and kind of see him get second. To me, those 2 were just better than the rest. But it was a good, performance. I think my problem with Independence Hall and the Malibu, a lot of people were talking Independence Hall, is doing great, and it was kind of hyped. And looking at the price he went off that, 4-1 range, he did take play in there, but all the hype, he never really lived up to it. So I've gotten off of him a little bit. And the big thing there is the distance. But Maxfield, you've talked about, no one's, I don't know, they don't talk about him all the time, right? He is undefeated. He's one that I'm not really on the bandwagon. I don't think I'm a huge Maxfield fan. He's done nothing wrong. We know that. But he's a horse that I think in this spot, he probably is the classiest horse on paper, but he's never gone past 1 1/16. We talked about that, kind of being on the sidelines last year and what that's done. I mean, he's stretching up considerably compared to someone like Idol.
I see Bram squirming the whole time you were talking trash about Independence Hall. He's not happy.
I like Idol a lot here, actually, too. I do like Idol a lot here. I only like 2 others against Max. I just keep writing down, why are we overthinking this with Maxfield? Because you're going to talk yourself out of it. He's probably going to win. I mean, but if someone's going to catch him, I do like Independence Hall. I like the splits in his earlier races. I think he's a big-time horse. I think he's got a real shot here, and you've incentivized me. This is why I'm really behind it, because you're going to give me a bet that I'm going to get my money back if he doesn't win, because he is going to come in 2nd or 3rd. So I think he's going to hit the board. But I like Idol. Rosario riding him for the first time, so it's a change of jockey here. I think is interesting. I always am curious about in moments like this when the horse had a regular rider, now he goes to a different one for this shot. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I do like Idol here, and I agree. I don't think this is a field that there's not many challengers to me that I see for Maxfield. This is not unlike with Life is Good. I think there was a couple that could run with him, but the same thing is happening here. It's going to take a lot to beat him, but I'm kind of all in on Independence Hall. You've also incentivized me to say that. And I give Idol more than half a shot here. So I'm with Ashley on that. I like Idol. I think he's got more than a fair chance at this thing. Knock him off.
All right. Well, stick with us right here. If you want to watch the Santa Anita Handicap, we'll be watching that race in just a little bit. Of course, we also have the San Carlos and the Kilroe Mile coming up. Ashley, before we let you go, as Bram alluded to, there is a $20 money back guarantee with First Bet today. If you pick a horse in the Santa Anita Handicap and that horse does not win but finishes second or third, you get your money back. Is Idol the horse you'd go with there?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Ashley, we appreciate having you on, making time for us little folks. We appreciate you.
We're not little folks at all. It was great to be back. I miss doing this stuff. So this is a good break on a Saturday.
Well, we missed you too, and we hope to see a lot more of you here. We're gonna force you into doing a couple more of these before the year's out. So thank you for making time for us, Ashley Mayo, everyone.
See you guys later.
Bye, Ashley.
Bye.
All right. So really cool.
Dan, real quick, kind of piggybacking on something you said about Maxfield, and and Bram alluded to it as well. Sort of the I don't want to say the disrespect, but that no one talks about him. I think part of it is because there's a real scenario where he's not the best older Godolphin horse that they have. Mystic Guide might actually be a better racehorse. He's going to run in the Dubai World Cup, it sounds like. And then, sort of, I don't want to say the elephant in the room, but Essential Quality, the 3-year-old who Godolphin also has, who, at this point, it feels like 1A, 1B, if we're talking favoritism for the Derby. If the race were run today, would it be Life is Good or would it be Essential Quality? I feel like it would probably be a coin flip there. But I think that's part of the reason that Maxfield may sort of get lost in the shuffle a little bit, is simply because Godolphin right now feels like they just are absolutely loaded as far as sort of our glamour divisions are concerned.
I can't disagree with any of that. And, look, I just, for whatever reason, I think if you see a big explosive effort today, suddenly Maxfield's going to become the horse. He's going to be the horse that everyone's talking about. To this point, he's kind of just sort of just slightly under the radar for what he's accomplished. But again, he's had the injuries we've talked about, and he's been in and out, so he hasn't been able to string together anything that would capture the imagination. But today's his opportunity. So we'll see that in a little bit. Right now, you can see the odds for the San Carlos Stakes here. The horse that a couple of us are really excited about, the 9 on the outside, taking a solid bit of money. Tigre de Slugo, the 9. Your second choice at this moment, back down on the rail, the 1 horse, Storm the Court, who we've talked quite a bit about. And then the one that both Ashley and Matt like quite a bit, the 7 horse Exalted, 5-1, taking some money off of that 10-1 morning line. And now I just saw someone else pop into I see 2 people in the green room. One of them, Ellis, I'm going to ask to hang tight. I know he's got an opinion on this race, right? Not if you've got, he wants in bad. I can see Ellis has an opinion.
Can you pull him in so I can make a pit stop real quick?
All right, that's fair. We'll trade off. All right, we're going to remove Matt and bring Ellis in. Hold on. There you go. Welcome in, Ellis.
Thanks, Matt.
Now, before you go, before you start in on this race, I also want to bring in my man Blake Seidel from Cam Hats. Blake, how you doing?
Hey, Dan. Good to see you. Good to see you and everybody else.
Good to see you too. Now, I know you're not here to give us some real heavy analysis. Am I right?
Yeah, but it is great to be with the Brain Trust, though, because you know my luck with betting. I count on you a lot, and that sometimes that's not always working out.
Well, I've led you down the wrong path many a time, and it's nice of you to stay just to stay loyal to the show here. So Blake is gonna look. The timing is perfect. We've got. I know it's a little different this year, seeing as a lot of tracks are not allowing people to attend or allowing limited attendance. But typically, you can see I've got my hat on.
I see that. You look great.
This is a Blake creation, a Cam Hats creation. And so we got Blake on to let us know where you could get styled for not only the upcoming Santa Anita Derby on April 3rd, but of course the Kentucky Derby after that. But Blake, if you would, let's give the floor now to Ellis, who was literally itching like nothing else to get on the show to tell us about his pick, his analysis here of the 8th race, the San Carlos.
I look forward to that.
First of all, how's my light, Dan?
It's better. I was giving Els a hard time about the lighting. It looks great. It looks great.
All right. I like Loudmouth here a lot. In the Cal Cup Sprint, he got checked early and didn't get the position he likes, about a length back. He's sitting at 8-1 right now. The 8 horse, he's 3 for 3. His last 3, if you toss that out, big work since raced. I like the outside post. Brickyard Ride is certainly going to be all by himself early. I'm really surprised he's 5-1. I really thought he's the one to catch. I get Tierra del Sluggo. I get that was a key race, but that was the same race Brickyard Ride won. So I'm going to box him up, but I really like Loudmouth, and I'm glad you let me get on here to talk about that.
Well, Bram's with you, right? Bram, you like Loudmouth.
100%. I like Tigre de Sluggo too. Again, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, I don't love anybody here, really. I think this is a pretty wide open race, but I love Loudmouth here, especially at that price. I think he's got a real big shot here, and at 8-1 or wherever it ends up over the next few minutes, I think it's the right value play in a race that feels very wide open. And now it's stormed the court down to 7-2. Again, like you give me a number on him, I'll consider it, but at 7-2, I don't see it. So now creeping up to 9-1, you're making me happier by the minute, Ellis. So I love Loudmouth too.
Yeah, I mean, he was 8-1. I kind of expected. Tigre Slow got bet down a little bit. As I said, the action on Brickyard Ride is really strange because he's a lone F, no doubt about it. It's interesting. I mean, certainly there's no knocks for multiples. I played some doubles. I'm actually playing in the ultimate. I talked myself out of it, then back into playing the Ultimate Betting Challenge. So I'm in on this race. I got a $100 win bet on Loudmouth, and some doubles, and some doubles from the last race, and some doubles going forward. Of course, the last race was pretty simple. I just love the post here on this play, and 7 furlongs. He's 1 for 1 at 7 furlongs as well. And again, Graham made a good point. You don't love the race. I really don't love the race either. I love the bet. You fall in love with bets, not fall in love with horses. I mean, you want to fall in love with horses. You're talking about Chrome before, but falling in love with bets, and a horse that I think should be 5-2, 3-1 at 9-1 is a bet I'm going to make every single time.
Bram, bad sign for you. Look at this comment about the post.
What's that?
Pop says storm the court as a gift at 7-2.
I mean, typically he's busy hitting on women in the chat room, so
This is so true, and Blake knows this. He's seen Max in action. So
and I also don't like that in the chat room right now that basically everybody's good looking but me currently. So thanks a lot for that, Christine. Thanks a lot.
Oh, come on, Christine. There it is.
What?
Bram, you must have a Cam Hats hat somewhere.
I do.
You?
I do. I got to run. I'll run up and get it after the race.
Glad you worn it. All right, Matt's back in the stream. We're going to pull him in now. So we got a full house. Welcome back, Matt.
Gentlemen, how we doing? We're all good?
Yeah, any final thoughts here as they head to the gate for the San Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Exalted was interesting. 5-1 doesn't really do anything for me. It's a race. Again, I don't have a super strong opinion, so I'm just going to sit it out and watch and see if something interesting happens. To Ellis's point, Brickyard Ride is clearly the speed of the speed. He's going to be by himself on the front end. I'm so dubious about his ability to get that final furlong. This is a horse that there was concern, and I liked him in his last start, but there was talk about the concern of, is he actually at his best at 6 furlongs? Forget about 7. Now, if you want to say maybe he's going to be able to clear off and go actually a little bit slower early on to save a little bit late, but I just don't know. I don't know that I need to find out that he can or can't see out the distance. I have no issue with the 8 or the 9 in here. I think both of them make plenty of sense. And I made my case about Storm the Court. I want him 1.5 miles on turf.
Hey, Dan, you know what I like about the configuration of our screen right now? It looks like Ellis is like the newest member of Daft Punk. And I like that.
I told you there was going to be some overcrowding here. I'll tell you what. Speaking
don't
of
make my muses mad, okay? Don't make my muses mad.
I like you got the bourbon there. You got the lighting upgraded. I love it. Speaking of overcrowding, I want to thank everyone tuned in right now. I get to see the dashboard here, how many people are watching right now. I can tell you we're hitting some huge numbers, and there are a lot of people tuned into this show, and a lot of people commenting and engaging with us. That's what this is all about. This show is for you. Road to the Derby Live. We've been having so much fun with these races from Santa Anita. We've also done them at Gulfstream. We've got another one coming up at the end of the month Florida Derby Day at Gulfstream Park. And of course, we're back here for the big one, the Santa Anita Derby on April 3rd. Blake, they're going into the gate here momentarily. I want you to be able to tell people about where they can get their fancy Derby hats. Why don't you start? And when the race goes off, if it goes off soon, we'll
yeah, no problem. You can always go to our website at camhats.com. CAMHATS.com. We have a wide variety and great styles for guys, especially the men. And I'm wearing straw because I'm so psyched to get out to the events and the races as soon as I can. Christine's actually down in Louisville right now doing some pre-derby work, and I'm jealous that she's down there, but she's having a great time staying at the Galt House and having fun. And I just real briefly, I was thinking, Dan, we had plans almost a year ago to go to the Louisiana Derby, and bang, everything shut down right at that time, so it's crazy. So yes, we're excited to get out there and get to the next race, and yeah, the guys will be styling the upcoming race in Santa Anita for sure, wearing some straw like this one, I think, and everything's sounding good, looking good. I know the Derby's going to run with like 50% or more. Pretty sure of that. Keeneland's,
hope so.
Yeah, Keeneland's looking at 6,000-7,000 fans a day, I think, for their opening. That's what I hear. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for this year. It's starting to move in the right directions.
All right, they're off in the 8th race at Santa Anita. Here's the sound from Frank Miramati.
The court coming through along the inside, and he now takes second. Then comes Major Cabby, 5th, 5 lengths off the lead. Extra Hope on the inside of Exalted, 2 clear of Strong Constitution and Manhattan Up. They have strung out over about 18 lengths as they head to the half-mile pole, and it's the speedster Brickyard Ride just cruising along, has a 3-length lead. Storm the Court in second, Loudmouth third. Tigre de Sluggo, orange colors, 7 lengths off the leader. Another 2 to Major Cabby, followed by Extra Hope and Exalted. Then 2.5 to Manhattan Up and Strong Constitution. Coming to the 5/16, and it's Brickyard Ride still well clear. Loudmouth inches up on the outside to take second. Storm the Court is in third. Tigre de Sluggo. Then Major Cabby, Exalted, starting to rally on the outside, has 8 to make up. As they straighten up, it's Brickyard Ride still well in front. 5-length lead, a furlong to close the deal. Major Cabby comes through on the inside. Exalted continues to finish with interest. Brickyard Ride 6 lengths in front. And wow. Brickyard Ride, another incredible performance as the Calbred dominates the San Carlos. Tight photo for second. Tigre de Sluggo and Exalted. Then it was Major Cabby, followed by a battle between Storm the Court and Manhattan Up.
Saw that one happen.
I swear. I mean, I understand what Matt was saying. The public thought he couldn't get 7. That's probably the reason he got bet up. But I also didn't have a chance to say, he goes 21-3, 44-1 without any company here. He went even faster. I was surprised, and he just got so much confidence.
Yeah. What do you make of Tigre de Sluggo there? I mean, I know like me and Bram were excited about this horse. He looked like he was about to just bow out of it and finish, way off the board about mid-stretch. Battled back. I mean, it seems like a nice horse who, maybe needs more distance, needs more of a setup. I don't know. Any thoughts on that horse, Matt?
No, I mean, if you just want to go through and kind of, again, try to make some comparisons from figs, it wouldn't surprise me if these horses ran their most recent races. Tigre de Sluggo ends up with somewhere around that low 90. Brickyard Rides end up around 100 as far as a buyer is concerned. Exalted is up in that sort of low 90 range, which would be kind of right on par based on his 4 prior runs. So maybe it's not the most electric take, but I'm just stunned that the horse continued on the way that he did, even though he was clear. I mean, he earned this thing. You're running fast every step of the way. And there is something to be said about being able to get out there and not have to deal with anybody breathing down your neck or pushing you too hard. But I mean, you could see down on the inside, it's not that John Velasquez wasn't trying to get Storm the Court to run with this horse early on. He's just not naturally as fast as he is early on. So, full marks go out to the connections here on top. Craig Lewis has got a nice little Calbred, and I don't know what the ceiling is. When the water gets deeper, it's one thing to win these races, and I'm not trying to, poo-poo it, but going from a Calbred Stakes race to this race, which was a fringe-ish grade 2, grade 3. I would assume the water's going to get considerably deeper at some point, but this speed will always make him a player.
Yep. Great call by you on Exalted. Ran a really nice race there to finish third, almost second at 6-1. Also, a great call on Storm the Court. It's just as valuable to know which horses you don't want to use in a certain spot as it is to know which horses to use. And a great call by this guy here, Tony. Tony, I know he's been dropping comments left and right. He's like just straight up saying, give me props. We will give you props. You're all over it, Tony. Look how many comments we got from Tony. Look at this. Come on. I called it, guys. $50 win bet. I'll take that. Shout me out. Tony, you deserve all the props in the world. You are the freaking man. Excellent call on Brickyard Ride at 5-1. We love you, Tony. Beautiful job. Bram, any thoughts here as we wrap up this race and look toward the next couple of races?
Only thing I got right was Storm the Court was definitely the wrong side, and that Tigre to Sluggo was pretty good, but apparently not good enough today. So I feel wise enough in that, and did not have the winner because I was on the there's no way that horse is going to make that distance train, and apparently that train left a long time ago, and I'm not on it.
I told you it was bad news when Pops came in on Storm the Court, so I didn't have a good feeling about it. All right, guys, 2 more races coming up. We've got the Frank E. Kilroe Mile, the Kilrow Mile, always a fun race. This year's renewal, a spectacular betting race. You can go. I mean, there are 10 horses in the race. You can go 8 or 9 different ways. I've got a strong opinion in the race. I know Ellis does. We've all got some thoughts about how to bet this race. Before we get to that, though, again, want to give the floor to my man, Blake Seidel from Cam Hats, to talk a little bit about getting ready as we're starting to feel that Derby fever right now, getting ready for the next couple of weeks and months. Blake, what's the play here? Do I get 2 different hats? Do I get one for Santa Anita Derby and one for Kentucky Derby? Is there a hat that I could wear to both? And when I wear to both, I mean watching from home, like on my computer, wear to both. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, definitely you can get one hat. I mean, Santa Anita, California, Kentucky Derby, Kentucky. It's going to be warm, so you want to wear straw like I'm wearing now. I just, put my felt fedora away the other day here in New York and got this out for this show. But yeah, you get one if you're lucky enough to be able to go out and see it both in person. If you're comfortable doing that, or even watching at home, you want to style up, cigar, have a bourbon, and get one hat and wear it, and you can wear it down. You can wear it up, however you feel comfortable. You always style. I mean, you always look great, Dan, no matter what you're wearing.
Well, that'll get you. Keep coming on this show, right? I mean, we always hold a spot open for you when you say that.
Well, I just want to say I love the show, and I always love your tips. I always take what you have to say.
Oh, look at that! All of it.
I use all that to make all the money on every bet that I make.
What do you make of Ellis's look here? He's resisting the fedora clearly.
Hey, I think that's a pretty styling hat, actually. I love that,
Thank
man.
you.
You can wear that to all kinds of events, man. I see a lot of guys at Keeneland wearing that style all the time.
It's probably me.
Yeah, probably.
And how about, what do you think about Matt's hat? Are you going with a more modern?
Well, Matt's always donning the great suit, with a great tie, and now he's dressed like he's really casual, and everybody's casual at home. I certainly don't have a suit on, I might have a jacket on, but that's about it, and so I mean shorts and stuff. So yeah, so Matt's always looking styling, I think,
Supporting a local establishment.
There you go.
What does that say? We got to get you full screen so we can actually see what it says.
I can just hold it up to you. It says York Beach Beer Company.
Ooh.
There you go.
This is a sort of little offshoot of another local company called Southern Maine Brewing. Brewing Company.
Yeah, very cool. I knew that I brought this along too, just so.
There's our Chromie. There's our Chromie. We've been looking for you all show.
Exactly. Great horse.
Matt's repping the brewery. Blake, you've been known to handle a glass of bourbon every now and then. You got anything in front of you today?
Well, I am drinking out of an Arlington Million glass because I was kind of really disappointed to hear that it's up for sale. So
Does that have water in there, though?
Oh, that's all vodka. You know me. It is Saturday night, right? I mean,
it is. It is. All right, Blake, before we let you go, one more time, in case the people are just tuning in, where do they go for their Derby hats? What's the site?
Yeah, just go online to our website at camhats, camhats.com. If you want to buy it online from us, you can, or go to where we sell on the website. We sell to stores all over the country. So excited to be on the show. Love the show. Good to see you guys, and I look forward to seeing you at one of the races this year.
Awesome. Tell Christine we love her. We miss her. We'll see her soon, hopefully.
I'll do that. Thanks a lot.
Be well, Blake.
Be well. All right, Ellis. I know you were talking a really big game about these last couple of races. The pressure's on here in the Kilroe now. Now I need a price here from you in the Kilroe. So
you'll get that.
Let's set this race up. I know you spent a lot of time handicapping this race. We're talking about a grade 1 here, going a mile on the turf course. Some big names who you've seen in grade 1, grade 2 action, Smooth Like Straight, Social Paranoia. Those are just a couple, and Casa Creed. And then you got a bunch of locally trained horses who seem extremely capable and running really well at Santa Anita. Where did you land here?
Well, let me be honest, first of all, because I got so much going on with money today betting. I just say on a pick 3, I bought the race because I like Brickyard Ride and Loudmouth, and that was a nice start.
Okay.
Pick 4 is the same picks as on one of my blogs I do for Keeneland. This is our Race of the Week blog, and I like this race. I saw 10 horse field. I knew the morning line was going to be strong. There was going to be no favorite. I'm surprised we have a 5-2 right now and hit the road. I landed on 3 win contenders, and with this kind of a race with the price, but I'm going to give you the price first, and that's the 8 count again, currently 18-1. This is just a really interesting horse, and it's odd because lightly raced 4 for 8. If you toss out the debut dirt sprint, the rest are on turf, including the grade 3 Singspiel last year at 10 furlongs. Moves from Gail Cox, actually not disgraced, by the way, at all in the grade 1 Northern Dancer, 4th, beaten ahead for 3rd, beaten 2 lengths for the win. Made the lead at the 8th pole. So a mile and a quarter, he makes the lead, or he's within a head, I should say. Shifts to California to Phil D'Amato, and wins the Seabiscuit, grade 2, rallies from dead last, not a fast pace into a 48, 112. Juan Hernandez. Then he goes into San Gabriel at the 9 furlongs. He's eased. I always, and I think Matt would agree, Bram, Dan as well, when you get a horse that's been eased in a race, who's been off and comes back and works okay, you draw a line through it. So as far as I'm concerned, that last race is the Seabiscuit win. And the 58 and 2/10 workout on February 28th certainly says he's as good. And that race, the Seabiscuit, is as good as any other horse in the race. So this is like the last race. And again, I talked about Loudmouth. I will admit I used them both because I couldn't resist the odds. This is a race where you don't fall in love with the horse. You fall in love with bets. And I'll start with him, and I'll let you kick it about. The other 2 are going to be Flavius, who is 6-1, ridiculous, and Social Paranoia, who is 6-1, ridiculous. So there's lots of money.
I love it. I love it. Everything ridiculous. Ellis, I want to ask you one question. So, and this is an honest question, and I wrestled with this question quite a bit. As we know, the Stronach tracks have really moved toward an emphasis on no Lasix racing, especially in their graded stakes races. This one will be no Lasix. Count Again, who you like, has all these really nice races coming into that San Gabriel on Lasix, then is off Lasix. Does that give you pause, seeing as that one race last out off Lasix was the one race where obviously he's puts up his poorest performance?
It's a great question. I've been dealing with this for a while. I think it's more important on dirt than turf, and you have to contextualize it as well. So let me use this horse as a great example. Yes, he ran really bad. He was eased without Lasix. Was that the reason? Maybe. But he's been off 2.5 months. And we should know that horses have to get it out of their systems now that they're racing without it. And they have to prove themselves. And yeah, he worked pretty fast before the San Gabriel. He worked 59 and change, 59 and change. But he had 215, and 159 and 158 workout, 5 furlongs. And I don't, that's not the end all, but it tells me he's fit. And so I think if he's working that fast, I would think that he's fine. But there are lots of reasons, and you're very valid here to look at horses that run good without Lasix and say they're going to run good again, and ones that didn't run good without it, that you may have to then consider whether that's the reason. But in this case, and I don't know if Matt or anybody, or either of you guys also have an opinion whether that is more dirt than turf, because I think it is, because they're going to get more stuff in their faces and swallow more dirt than they would swallow, grass when on a grass course.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's still, I don't want to say it's too early to really make a call one way or the other, but I think for me, just this instance specifically, and talking about Count again, you can't help but factor in the value standpoint, where this is a horse, if you didn't have that last running line in his PPs, he's half the price that he is right now. And he may even be shorter than that. So, you know what? Even if that ended up being the case, you know what? Without Lasix, he's just not the same horse. I'm not going to talk anybody off of a $34 horse. It's just not something that I don't think you'd have anything to gain by doing that. So I agree with Ellis. I think this is an instance where, based on that Seabiscuit, he beat a number of common opponents that he's going to run into again here this afternoon. And if you're not sold, or you don't love the prices on some of the other logical contenders, which in a race like this, it's difficult to really sell yourself on a super short price, including Hit the Road. I would have no beef whatsoever with taking a horse like Count again, especially at this price. And to be honest, anywhere in and even less than his 12-1 morning line. If you got into that 8 or 9-1 range, I still think that's fair.
Yeah. No, I know, like, when I've got you guys on, these are the kinds of questions that you grapple with when you're handicapping. If I got you on, I'm going to ask you these questions. It's going to factor into the way I filter some of this stuff out. And I hope that it's valuable and useful for the people watching, because these are the kinds of questions you got to ask yourself, and you learn from experience too. I mean, today might not be the day. You may make a wrong call on a horse, but maybe you learn something. You go back after the race and you say, well, you know what, that horse, now it's 2 races now that I've seen that he hasn't run back without Lasix. So maybe you learn something from that. Bram, I want to ask you specifically about the pace scenario here. I know you've been more involved in handicapping pace the past couple of weeks here, as we look at opportunities to make money with pace. In this race, I didn't really see any like bona fide speedster or need the lead type. I mean, the one horse here who, showed speed last out, went pretty fast early, and who's drawn outside, so you figure is going to go fast here, is Flying Scotsman. How do you envision the pace unfolding? And do you like that horse, for example, because there's no other obvious speed?
I mean, I'd like to know who's going to get out to the lead, because that's been a win here at this track. So I'd like to know who that is. And I actually, I agree. Like, this is a very deep race. There's very few here that I'm crossing off saying has no real shot to hit the board. I mean, you mentioned Flying Scotsman. If you go off his last race and you don't have him in your exotic bets, you might be sorry. Like, he may end up hitting the board, and you're going to get a really nice price on that. I'm not picking him to win, certainly, and I still feel like that's a long shot, but just go look at his last race and go tell me if he replicates that here, that he's not going to factor in it. Right. So I don't know who's up front here. I've landed on 3 that I feel pretty good about. And mainly it's distance with Social Paranoia. I think it's the right distance for him. And because of that, I really, really like him, and we'll see what the price is there. I like Ride a Comet. I don't know how you don't like Ride a Comet. He's probably the most consistent of this group. He wins a lot. He's a great late runner. And Smooth Like Straight is the other one that I like. I mentioned earlier, I like Rispoli, especially on the turf. I like him. I like this horse here. Those are the 3 that I'm kind of looking at, but I'm with you. I think there's some really juicy numbers here. And I think there's a reason why, 3-1 is the lowest odds on the board right now. And I think things are going to flip around, and I'll be interested to see over the next 15 minutes or so how much that flips and where late money goes, because I want to see where the public is kind of falling on this, because I think you have a lot of options here. But this is the pay dirt one. I mean, of all the ones that we've had up to this point, I don't think we're getting one on the next one. Get it right, you're going to make some money on this race.
Yeah, I mean, look at these prices. I mean, your favorite is 3-1. We had a race last week where the favorite, I think, was 4-1, 9-2. We might see that here. We may get a 7-2 favorite in this race. Let's talk a little bit about this favorite. Hit the Road. Lots of space between races for this horse. I think they had high hopes from him as a 2-year-old when he ran in the BC Juvenile Turf. Won the Zuma Beach. Both of those races were at Santa Anita, as was his first graded stakes win, last out of the Thunder Road Stakes. He really does seem to be coming into his own and gets a big jock booking again. Florent Giroux, we mentioned earlier, he's going to ride him here first time. Although I did question Rispoli hopping off to Smooth Like Straight, assuming he had the choice here, right? Ellis, what did you make of that? And what do you make of Hit the Road?
Well, certainly that last race puts him with these. He's stepping up quite a bit from grade 3 to grade 1 for sure. But that last race certainly puts him in the mix. He fits on all counts in this kind of a race. That was a mile, of course. It was off a layoff, which is pretty, in my opinion, pretty hard to come back off a layoff at a mile in the California circuit where they go faster. On East Coast where they're going to go 24, 48, 47 in a mile, you can do that. It's much tougher. Don't know what he beat much, but he did it well. He got a 111 Equibase figure, which puts him right there with the Smooth Like Straight's Mathis Brothers Mile. Count again, by the way, got 114 in the Seabiscuit, Ride a Comet 117, Flying Shots 111. So there's a lot of horses with similar. Flabius 113 last time out as well in the Seabiscuit. So he fits. Rispoli jumping off. Okay. Giroux gets on, so I got no problem because Giroux doesn't usually ride in California, but he certainly can ride anywhere and certainly loves the grass. I've been watching him at Keeneland, his dream come true because he's just such a good grass rider. He puts his horse in the right position. The good thing about Hit the Road is he has good tactical speed. Mm-hmm. And I haven't really looked at the pace of this race because the turf race I don't consider much. Flying Scotsman I assume is going to go. You guys may have a similar or different opinion.
Yep.
Smooth Like Straight sits. Hit the Road's probably third or fourth early. The only comment is he's just bad win bet. But on the other hand, he's not a bad win bet. 3-1's not a bad win bet. But compared to others in here, who I think should be 3-1, who are 16-1 and 5-1 and 6-1, I think he's not as good of a win bet.
I love the interaction between our viewers right now. George O needs Royal Ship, the 4-horse at 17-1, assuming he's got some multi-race play here. And then Big Bundits and Big Money Mike always got a shot. That's who's riding Royal Ship in that race. Lots of opinions coming in from people watching right now. Send us your thoughts. Flavius here for George O. A little worried there that Flavius might beat him. And then here, Alex Ryan, Flying Scotsman and Social Paranoia. A couple of horses we've talked about a little bit. But really, the one guy I keep going back to, my man Tony. Tony's back. He's rolling over the winnings. He's rolling it over. He's got the 9 here. He wants to be on the 9, gate to wire. Says, call this 9. Look at this. Tony's all over the 9. If you want to ride the hot hand, you ride with Tony. 9-2 right now on Tony's selection in this race. Ride a Comet. Because we have a moment here, we have a replay of the tropical turf derby there. The last race at Gulfstream Park was Ride a Comet and Casa Creed battling it out to the wire. Let's take a look at that race, and on the other side of this, we'll talk about those two horses.
4 wide goes Hey Dakota, dropping back his Tusk. 3/4, 110-4, less than a quarter of a mile to go. Frostmore now asked to kick in as Casa Creed takes aim, and Casa Creed is up on the outside to take the lead. Ride a Comet tries to run at him. Ride a Comet and Casa Creed, these two. Ride a Comet getting up. Ride a Comet wins the tropical turf.
So I think you've got a decision to make with that race. That Tropical Park turf, to my eyes, was sort of an oddly run race. You didn't see much movement outside the top 3. It's a race that I'm kind of like, I don't love that race too much. I respect Casa Creed. Maybe Ride Comet has taken that next step. He seems to be headed in the right direction. Matt, what do you make of that race, and what do you make of these two runners in particular?
I'm a big fan of Ride a Comet. I think there's proper ability here. He's never done anything wrong on the turf. He's 5 for 6, never been out of the money in 6 starts on the grass. But, kind of to Ellis's point, unless you absolutely love one of these short prices, there's nothing wrong with that. But I have a very difficult time finding a massive edge that any one of these horses has really on the majority of the field. So if you're content with 4.5-1 on this horse, totally fair. He was 2-1 last time at Gulfstream. He's running up against at least one common foe in Casa Creed. what I'll say about Casa Creed, the thing that if you do like him, I think you're kind of hanging your hat on is that he's going to be involved early on. And in a race that we've kind of touched on, it doesn't seem like you have proper gas in here. It does make me wonder if maybe he can get a little bit brave out there. I don't think he has necessarily the winning, not pedigree, but I don't think he likes to necessarily get the job done at this sort of level. I think this is probably a little bit tough for him, but to Bram's point, he's brought up the way that this, we just saw that horse go out there and go guns blazing, 45 and a piece, and still win by 3. So, would it stun you if something kind of kooky happened like that? No, probably not. But I don't want to be betting on a horse that I don't love. And again, maybe if one of these other short prices that other people may love, if you're content taking one of those numbers, that's fine. Again, you're not getting a terrible price. I just don't know that any one of these horses deserves to be bet so heavily.
Bram, any thoughts in particular on that race? Those 2 horses coming from Gulfstream. I don't know where you put that race compared to some of the other setup races here for these other horses.
I mean, I feel really good about Ride a Comet. I think you're seeing consistent finishes, and I'm into that too. I like the horse that is there every time. I like predictability. I love social paranoia here, partially because I just think it's the right distance. But if you go look at the finishes with that horse, it is up and down. And so I don't have the same level of confidence that I think I'm going to get a different, result out of this. But I really like Ride a Comet here. I'm kind of more landing there. I'm going to end up boxing 4 or 5 horses and try to get something because there's a price here. So, catch the right side of a good ticket, you're going to make some money. So I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to be. At this point, it's 1-3-6-9, and I can be talked into 7. I can be talked into 10, hitting the board late. So, but that's where I am right now.
So let me, if you don't mind, Dan, let's talk about strategy, because that's a good point he made about trying to make money in this race. We're giving out lots of different contenders, and I'll just tell everybody what I did again because I'm playing in this contest. I played a try instead of an exacta of 3-6-8 with 3-6-8 with all, and instead of an exacta box, because I think because there is no favorite, I think that trifecta is going to come back at pretty good numbers. It might be less than the exacta, but I think there's some value because you've got 3 or 4 double-digit horses plus one of mine double digits, and I think that's the play in this kind of race. It's not that expensive a ticket for 50 cents. I forgot how much it was. I played it for $2 because I got to make a bigger bet in the contest. But that's how you do it. Or like Bram says, you take 5. People poo-poo it, but I mean, a 4 or 5 horse exacta box here is going to get you 3 or 4x.
Yes, definitely. That's what you just got to get it right. I mean, there's a lot of options here, but I think that's the play here. I mean, I don't feel strongly necessarily about any of them, and currently, I don't like the favorite to the point where he's not even in my box, and I feel confident about that. And I'm not going against him. I just don't necessarily like him that much. So I see a lot of value here in an exotic play, and I agree. I'm going to end up on a 4 or 5 horse exacta box and hope I hit it.
Well, the only thing I would add to that, just real quick, I'm not usually an exotic player unless I'm in a contest or I have to hit minimums or things like that. And for me, on a day like today, where I'm just kind of firing sporadically, a race like this to me is a prime opportunity. Especially if you are someone who is sort of newer to the game and maybe your risk tolerance is not quite what some others are, it is for some of the people. Find a price that you think is fair or an overlay, and don't be afraid if it is large enough to play win place or win show or win place show, whatever the case may be, because even a place or a show return in a race like this, depending on the odds, is still going to be decent enough for someone who is sort of, again, getting involved and trying to get their feet wet a little bit. And maybe this is an opportunity for you to say, you know what, I really do like a 15 or 20 to 1 shot. And regardless of the fact that maybe people aren't talking about the horse, I believe in my handicapping. And this is a way for you to go out there and say, I've got a little bit of skin. And even if the horse doesn't win, maybe I can still get something back, because a 20 to 1 shot who runs third, still probably going to get $6 back the show, I would imagine, somewhere in that ballpark. So I would just say don't be afraid to get a little bit creative in a spot like this. I mean, the horse that I really like, I don't know how I'm playing him yet. It's either going to be just to win or to win in place, but I really like Spirit Animal.
So I was about to say that. Go ahead.
So again, he's not the fastest horse by a long shot in this race, But one of my favorite things about turf racing, and no, it doesn't always work, but it's one of the things that makes handicapping for me as fun as it is trying to find horses who their running line looks kind of pedestrian, but then when you go back and you watch the replays, you go, oh, this was considerably better than what the line would suggest. I understand he saved every inch of ground going into the far turn in the Seabiscuit, but he was stopped multiple times, ran up on heels, came to basically a cold stop, still ended up running on at the end of the race to only lose by 3 and change to what I consider to be a pretty solid group of horses that fit in here. If you like Flavius, in my opinion, this is just me, you should strongly consider Spirit Animal at almost 5 times the price, or 3 times the price, simply because I don't think there's really that much between the two of them. And I try not to read into jockey assignments. I really don't. But Joel Rosario rides for Chad rather frequently on the East Coast. Flavien Prat, if Chad has a horse that goes out there and he needs a rider, nothing wrong with Flavien Prat. I think he's as good as there gets. But there's a relationship between Joel and Chad. And for him to end up on this horse as opposed to Flavius, I found that intriguing. And it's as simple as that. I just found it intriguing, something to consider. I like Spirit Animal in here, and I'm going to bet him either to win or win place or maybe even win show at 13-1.
I think he'll be fighting for last with Count Again early. I think.
Early.
No, early.
I was like, damn, Ellis throwing fire at us. No, look, Matt, you took the words out of my mouth. I was like literally on the tip of my tongue. We talked about, trying to find a price here. If there was one horse in this whole sequence that I was looking forward to, it is Spirit Animal. I think to your point, I think he might get overlooked off of that 6th place finish in the Seabiscuit, but had all that trip trouble prior to that, was, a head away from being on a 4-race winning streak. And from a pace perspective, Ellis says, he's going to be last, but you know what? I think that he's got enough early speed to be within 3 or 4 lengths. I mean, that's typically where he is if they're not going extremely fast. So I don't think he's going to be dead last or second last. I think he's going to be near the back of the pack. But if they run just honest early to midsection fractions, I think he's got every shot at 14-1. Again, just not to belabor all the points you made, but they were all good ones. The Rosario note, I think, is also important. 14-1. I love every bit of that. I just bet the horse across, and I'm using this horse in a couple of contest plays as well. So for me, my horse right here for the value that you're getting certainly is going to be the 5 horse. Spirit Animal I think is interesting, and then I think if you want a horse to hang on for a share of it in your exotics, I think Flying Scotsman might be loose, so it would be tough not to use them because worst case scenario, I mean, I see that horse hanging on for 2nd or 3rd.
That's your stable dual horse. I noticed that.
It is my stable dual horse. I mean, look, that's where we're at. This is a really fun race. Whoever you bet, wish you a lot of luck. This is going to be, if you hit this race, I get a feeling you're going to be, it's going to be a day maker and then some.
Race of the day, I think, fair to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. From a betting perspective, it doesn't get any better than this. You will see this race live here momentarily on Santa Anita Road to the Derby live. And then after this, you will see the big cap, the Santa Anita Handicap, live here on Santa Anita Road to the Derby live. Enjoy the race. You'll hear the race call here in just a second from Frank Miramati. Enjoy. Good luck.
And they're off. Smooth Like Straight is very fast away from the gate. Flavius up close in the early stages too. Royal Ship comes away in 3rd. Here's Flying Scotsman. And Flying Scotsman sprints up and is faster than all of them. Clears the field and opens up 2. Smooth Like Straight is now in 2nd. Hit the road on the inside, a joint 3rd.
You were right, Ellis.
Outside of him. They're followed by Casa Creed, 6 or 7 lengths off the speed.
About it being on the lead?
No, about being
battling for last.
Battling for last.
Early on.
To the backstretch. Then Ride a Comet going by a couple of rivals at the back of the field, Spirit Animal, and Count Again. They're heading toward the half-mile pole in the Frank E. Kilroe Mile, and the lead belongs to Flying Scotsman by a length and a half. Smooth Like Straight is tracking him nicely in 2nd. Then it's Flavius on the outside of Hit the Road. Casa Creed, 6 lengths off the leader. Social Paranoia inches up inside of him. Then Ryder Comet with the green cap racing on the outside of Royal Ship, Count Again, and Spirit Animal. A quarter of a mile to go. Flying Scotsman, Smooth Like Straight. Flavius hit the road, just waiting for racing room. Behind them, Casa Creed, Social Paranoia at the rail. There's an eighth of a mile to go. Smooth Like Straight hit the road, finds a seam along the inside, and Flavius hit the road on the inside. Flavius, Smooth Like Straight in between them. Far outside, Count Again is absolutely running out of time. It's hit the road, hit the road. Frankie Kilroe Mile. Smooth Like Straight in a photo with a flying Count Again.
Well, that was an exciting race. It's incredible when you see races like this and they turn out just as the odds suggested they would. I mean, you've got your top two choices finishing first and second. Ellis, your horse, I feel you. That was a nice run on the outside at 16-1. Just got moving a little too late. And look, you got Rispoli, I think him jumping off the two in some ways scared me off this horse a little bit while it shouldn't have. Your horse, Count Again, ran a huge race at 16-1. Obviously, you identified the value there, so great job.
Yeah, I needed him for second.
Just missed. I know there are no sentimental sort of moral victories here.
Yeah.
Matt's got to look like he just hit a $20,000 trifecta.
No. Just I'm. It's one of those things. We talk about turf racing where just by nature they're going to be more bunched finishes than dirt races for the most part. And sort of the knock, and I'm guilty of it as well, that the West Coast turf horses typically aren't as good as the East Coast turf horses. I think there's a real scenario where at a mile, these top two are right there as far as the milers are concerned this year. Both hit the road and Smooth Like Straight because, just the way that they run, and to Ellis's point that he brought up before the race, the tactical ability that they have, I feel like I sound like a broken record where you go back through all these most recent years of the brilliant milers we've seen, specifically here in the United States. What's the common theme, the common denominator? They've all got tactical speed. They're all really close. And okay, maybe they don't finish in 22 flat, but the horses finishing in 22 flat have to make up 10 lengths on them, and they're going to finish in 22-4. They just don't have enough time to make up that ground. So whether it was a Wise Dan, a Tepin, a World Approval, I mean, you can continue on with that list. I think that's the thing that can kind of separate the proper world-class milers from the horses who are very talented, but they're always going to have a little bit too much to do. And maybe this is the year that the West Coast runners are legitimately every bit as good as the East Coast, maybe even broader than that.
Wanted to send a little shout out, congrats to the ownership team of this horse. Hit the road, good friends with some of the folks at Taste of Victory. I was tweeting with them last night, and I kind of said, "What's up with Rispoli? why is he spitting you guys for Smooth Like Straight?" And I didn't get any. I just got a like on it. I should have taken that aside. I just liked it. That was all. Just a like. No comment on it. But no, look, really, really big score for this horse in particular. Horse has had potential all along. You could see it. We talked about that last run, the Thunder Road. Winning that race easily is gonna post a big number for this one as well. I would imagine 99 Buyer last out. Showed potential as a 2-year-old. Had obviously some issues that kept him out of action. I would think for a large portion of last year, and now is back with just 2 big races here to kick off 2021. So keep an eye on Hit the Road. Really nice turf horse moving forward.
Dan Blacker's first Grade 1.
Is that right?
I believe. I believe the Thunder Road was his first graded stakes win.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, congrats to Dan Blacker. That's phenomenal. Really, really good. Really nice win. We've got another guest in. This guest, I expected a little earlier in the show, but he's on West Coast time. So, you know how that goes. Here's my man, George Ortuzar. George, how we doing?
We are doing fantastic. I'm so sorry. I was having some problems, some technical problems, but everything's cool. The show has been fantastic. I've watched it from start to finish. You guys are doing an amazing job. And, before we even what the heck is that? Oh,
see, let's get we'll full screen it. What do we got there? What do we got there?
Well, he's the son of this guy. He's the son of this guy.
Oh, that horse looks familiar.
Yeah.
That horse looks familiar.
Yeah. Some guy, I forgot who it was. Some guy named Dan something. I'm not sure what happened there, but
George, was it 500 or 1,000 this time I was supposed to send you?
Wow, what a pick, man. I was going crazy that day.
Want to make sure we sent out the right stuff.
Bob Baffert was going crazy. Steve, it was fantastic.
My man, George, always on the payroll and coming through with some solid props today. Unfortunately, my long shot picks, it's been a pretty chalky day for the most part here. And we're heading into the big one. First off, just give us some quick takeaways. You're there at Santa Anita, so you're watching all this unfold. What are some of your takeaways from today? Obviously, freakish performance again by Life is Good.
That's funny because I got a chance to interview Bob Baffert this morning, and he was so high on Life is Good. He didn't only say he loved this one in the San Felipe. He kind of insinuated that this was going to be your favorite and probably would win the Kentucky Derby. And after that performance, I mean, I'm not going to argue with Bob Baffert. I mean, that horse was spectacular. And then my other takeaway is so funny because Mike Smith, who I love Mike Smith, Charlatan is in the middle of the track. He goes to the inside. Everybody gives him grief. Now he got this one in the middle of the track. He doesn't go to the inside. Everybody's giving him grief. I mean, Mike Smith's like, "What's what I got to do, man? What do I got to do here?" So
it's not everybody. It's just Matt. It's just Matt.
Man, jeez, if I go in, I'm in trouble. If I don't go in, I'm in trouble.
It's an observation. It's not giving him grief.
Mike Smith, I thought he's got a beast there. What a beast. That horse is a beast. He was also high in the interview on a first-time start in the last race today. So if you guys, I don't know if Woods will be on, we'll be on the air, but he really likes Following C. Okay. He said, I got another one in there, defunded, not as good. Following C is the one, and he's training spectacular. So, he just comes up with these 3-year-olds every year, even late in the game. And so this is one to keep an eye on there. The big race coming up. We want to thank all the fans for a great day here. We had, the Wild West bonus coming up. So I'm sure that definitely that's why somebody like Maxfield is in town. We had 5,134,000 extra in the Pick Six pool. Thank you. And now, of course, we got the big race presented by the All Thrill San Manuel. So thank them as well. I got to get all these, I work for Santa Anita. I want to keep the job. So I got to get all these plugs in.
You're a machine. And by the way, yes, we will take that runner in the last race because we're all playing the late double. So obviously we want to know who's going to win the last race. So race 11, Giorgio telling you the 10-horse Following C is as live as they can be. So thank you, George, for that info. I want to remind people, since we're doing, all the reads here, the Santa Anita Handicap Money Back Special coming up next. Santa Anita Handicap, get your cash back up to $20 on the Santa Anita Handicap. You bet a horse to win. They don't win. You still get your money back if the horse finishes second or third. So make sure you get in on that. On top of it, a bonus of up to $500 on first bet. If you make an account right now, use promo code 500ABR. We'll leave that on the screen for you for just a moment. You can take all that in. Now you got a lot of text going across your screen right now. We're going to be talking about here in a few minutes how we're going to use that $20, not completely risk-free, but essentially risk-free. If you've handicapped this race, you got to figure a horse that's going to finish in the top 3. So if you're confident enough in that, who's the horse that you bet with this $20 win bet with the guarantee that you get that money back if the horse finishes second or third? Ellis, let's kick it to you to start things off here as we talk about the Santa Anita Handicap.
Well, So do you want to talk about the win bet or just the play of the race?
Well, I mean, I want your pick, and if your pick is worthy of the $20 win bet, then that's what we'll go with.
Well, when I was sitting in the green room before coming on, I heard Matt Bernier talk about Independence Hall, and all I heard was can't get 10 furlongs. I think I heard that anyway.
I'm dubious.
I'm undubious. For two reasons. Let me go to those first. And of course, this is what makes great racing. We have totally disparate opinions. First of all, Constitution's fairly young sire, and one horse in particular gets 10 furlongs. 'Tis the law. The other is the trainer, Mike McCarthy. I no knock on Mike Trombetta, who had this horse before. He won the Jerome. He lost to Sam Davis, and I love Sol Volante that day. And then after Florida Derby, they gave him time off. I don't know what happened. I don't follow that stuff as much. One of you may know what happened. And then comes back and he wins a sprint. Then he runs 5th in the Malibu. I don't think that was the goal. I think the goal was to do what McCarthy did with, who I'm going to talk about, City of Light. And he took him to the Pegasus, and he ran 3rd. Nick Sko's going to win the race. So, in my opinion, really, you're really running for 2nd or 3rd to get a good foundation. And he lost by a neck to Jesus' team, or Jesus's team, I should say. And to be correct, I forget sometimes. And so that's almost
it's Jesus's TM, I believe.
It's TM, like it's K-Nick Sko, right?
Exactly.
That's always funny. Anyway, so look, he still runs faster. He's improving. And McCarthy did this with City of Light. It's not different, in my opinion. And I think the rail, the tactical speed, I just think he's sitting on a huge, huge effort. I'm not taking anything away from Maxfield. I think I don't remember if I said, I think I made them both 9-5 is fair odds. And of course, Maxfield's odds on Independence Hall last time I looked was like 5-1, I believe. Pull up my screen to double check. I think you guys are all seeing
We'll get it up here for you. 6-1 right now.
Yeah. So this is my express bet win bet. I've got him in doubles from the last race because I keyed him in the contest I'm playing. I'm going to mess around with some big exactas with him and Maxfield, and then over a couple of horses like Kiska Day Goodbye, Express Train, and Idle. But I think Independence Hall is the goods here. If Maxfield wasn't in the race, you wouldn't get this price. So I really like him. There's no knock on Maxfield except for the odds. I think these two could both draw off and be 20 lengths in front of the rest of the field.
Yeah, you can't use this win bet on Maxfield at 2-5. There's Dan Blacker on the right side of your screen right now, as Matt just mentioned. His first Grade 1 win, spectacular. Really happy for Team Blacker. Good for them. This is and again, it looks beyond this being the first Grade 1. They've got a horse here the rest of the year. They can really look forward to a big campaign with. Bram, rare occasion here. I believe you and Ellis are in agreement.
We are. I'm all in on Independence Hall too. Love the splits from his last race. I think he's a big race horse. I love him. And in terms of, since you're going to give me my money back, why would I put $20 on a 2-5 horse when I could put it on a 6-1 or 8-1, and you're going to give it back to me if I don't hit? So I love Independence Hall here, and I like Idle a little bit less than I do Independence Hall, but I'm with Ellis here. I think he's going to win. So I'm not just saying that because I know you're incentivizing me to say it. I'm with Ellis here. I think he's the right play, and I agree. I think his odds are ridiculous at 6-1. So I love that. So I will take your free money, Dan. Thank you very much. I will turn that into 120 or whatever you're going to get me, and then I'm going to back that up with some of my own cash. Thank you very much, Dan Tordjman.
Maddie, talk to us. Who you got?
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, my whole logic kind of comes down to, and I said it earlier, I don't really like anyone in this race, including the favorite. But I mean, if we're trying to find an alternative, that Malibu is potentially going to be kind of a key race because you go back and look at it, not just because of what Charlatan went on to do, but my theory is the two horses in this race that were most sort of, impressive coming out of it anyway, with what they then did, were Independence Hall and Express Train. I all along have thought the longer the better for Express Train. Conversely, I think one turn for Independence Hall. That kind of just leads me by default to land on Express Train, where I think at 1.25 miles, especially for a bet like this, I get it. He's probably going to end up he might be the third choice when it's all said and done. I'll take a look at the will pays, but The point, I would be very surprised if he didn't hit the board. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he finished third, because again, I don't know that he's a superstar, but I think 1.25 miles is going to be his game as opposed to some of the other horses in this race, where I'm just not convinced that that's going to be the case. So if you're telling me they run second or third and I get my money back, great. If he can somehow upset the apple cart, maybe Maxfield doesn't ship to Southern California, or he doesn't take to Santa Anita, or whatever the case may be, you at least have an opportunity to take your 20 and turn it into something a little bit greater. And maybe you have something that you can then spin into that Baffert first-time starter in the nightcap and get out in good shape. So that's just kind of my hypothesis, is that Express Train, the longer, the better. And Independence Hall, I think he's a one-turn miler at heart. And you know what the good news is? Again, to everyone's point, we'll find out in about 17 minutes' time.
Well, Matt mentioned Express Train. I do want to take a look back at the San Pasquale last out, that Express Train won. As we pick up this video, you're going to see Express Train as the 4-horse coming, in deep stretch here, pulling away from the field. But I also want you to keep an eye on the horse making a rally on the outside behind him, who ultimately finishes third, because that's the horse that I'm interested in. So let's take a quick look back at the San Pasquale.
Express Train angles out. Idol takes fourth. King Guillermo's last, top of the stretch, and Zestful is up to take the lead. On the outside, Express Train's had a beautiful trip, and he's poised to pounce. And down at the rail, Tis a Magician fights on. Tis a Magician and Express Train inside the final 1/8 of a mile has taken command in the San Pasquale. And it's Express Train to win convincingly. Scores by 3. Tis a Magician was second.
I don't know, I'm just looking at that late action. I love the way Idol looks late in these races, going longer now. That's the horse that I landed on. And if I get 7-1 on this horse, I mean, I love that. I mean, he's a Curlin. And again, he's the one horse based on the way he's looked in each of his last 3 starts. I mean, I just have no doubt he's going to love every bit of this distance. His best race was at 1 mile and 3/16. I think he's looked like he's wanted more ground every single time. So I think for him, the question is if he can get a little pace in front of him, I think he stands a very reasonable chance to at the very least hit the board. And, if he runs the race of his life, takes that next step, then I think potentially he could win this race if Maxfield is not on his game. Giorgio, how would you use this money?
Well, I did use the money already, and I got a chance to talk to Eric Kruljack this morning as well. Eric Kruljack told me that his horse is doing fantastic. The owner was there, Dorita, who is the wife of John Sonderecker, and man, he says this is where this horse loves to run. Kiss today goodbye, doesn't like going out of town. He really didn't like that surface at all at Gulfstream Park, but he's back home. He's got the Hall of Famer aboard. And at, 30-1? I bet $20 to win on him at 30-1. And if he loves the track, as Eric says, he's doing fantastic. I think he's an excellent bet. The winner, the most probable winner, obviously, is Maxfield. And I think Matt, commented, Gold Dolphin, they're killing it. Antoinette won the very one. And, of course, Essential Quality could be, those two with Life is Good in the Kentucky Derby. Mystic Guide looked fantastic. So Gold Dolphin is firing so hot right now. But he's 1-2, so you're not going to use that on your money back special. But the 3 at 30-1, Kiss today goodbye. Hopefully I won't be kissing my $20 goodbye. I'm going to have to get some of this Woodford Reserve over here. All right, then.
Tom Kearney says he's going with Maxwell with his money back win bet. He's like, hey, what the heck? I'll take those nickels and dimes. I'll take them. This is, I think, my favorite quote of the day. And all I'm going to do is put it up on the screen and let Bram react. Here it is.
It's a good question. I mean, it's an appropriate question. The other real question today is, Dan, you have to tell us about your lighting. Like, can you tell us about your choices of your lighting today, Dan?
I'd like to believe that it pretty closely matches the Santa Anita colors. Am I right? Do you see that?
Yeah, we got green.
Is that what you were going for, or do you live in a consistent rave party? Because what's
I do not waste any energy, man. It's all about being on brand, man. I'm trying to do this thing right. Yeah, no, I was really excited about it. Got a new light kit a little while back. They gave me a blue. They gave me a yellow. I combined the filters. Next thing you know, you got this this minty green color.
It is very, very close to the exact color.
I'm not proud of much in my life, but this, I will say, I'm pretty excited.
My lighting, mwah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about this. With 10 minutes, 10 minutes, or 12 minutes to go in this next race here. One of the commenters actually was brings up this horse who we haven't talked much about. About a year ago this time, he was, the talk of the town. I mean, the King Guillermo was, had just pulled off an upset in the Tampa Bay Derby at 50-1. Exactly a year ago, pretty much. Has had some issues since then. Was away from the races for a while. Came back late last year. Well beaten in the Cigar Mile, and also well beaten in that San Pasquale that we just showed you. Does anyone out there want to make an argument for this horse?
No. Well, I mean, okay, this is one of those. Connections would need to tell me, oh, by the way, he's back to his form. Before I would even touch something like that. Like, I mean, I appreciate what he did a year ago, but like I've seen anything remotely close to it. And then the couple of races, late last year into this year, I mean, he's barely sniffing the board. He's not even coming anywhere near it. So someone else want to make an argument for him? Go right ahead.
I'll go with you. I got sucked into King of Dreams and Tampa Bay Derby, so I don't like anything to this barn right now.
You're riding them all off.
I mean, look, if you're trying to draw up the narrative as to why he hasn't fired in either of the past two, because he is run on tracks that have moisture in them. I'm not advocating that being the case, but if you're trying to draw up reasoning, that feels like the low-hanging fruit, and he just doesn't like any kind of moisture in a racetrack. I'm with these guys. I don't think he's what he looked like he was potentially going to be, or he can't even get back to the form that he at one point showed early on in his 3-year-old form. So I would need him to prove it here this afternoon. But if you were really, really trying to draw up the narrative, yeah, maybe you just say, look, he didn't like a wet track either of the past two times. And I get it. The San Pasquale was not wet by, sort of East Coast standards, but there was moisture in the track. If you want to look at that and say he just didn't appreciate it, and now he gets a proper fast strip, maybe he'll get back to his best. I think you're really trying to sort of draw at straws. But again, you're 30-1. Who am I to sit here and tell you not to bet on a horse that'll pay $62?
George, you could sell me on anything. Sell me on King Guillermo.
Well, if you have been betting this horse at 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, you're getting 30-1 today. You don't want to miss it now. Those people that made him 3-1, if they get off him now and he wins at 30-1, I mean, they're just going to feel terrible. So if he's got one thing going for him, he's got a great price. So let's see if he could deliver some of those back when he won the Tropical Derby at 50-1.
George, not quite as convincing that time.
No,
not quite as convincing.
He ran so bad last race.
Fool me once at 3-1, shame on you. Fool me twice at 3-1, shame on me. Fool me at 30-1, I'm the fool.
I'm just wondering, especially I want to ask Matt, he may not be a win contender, but does he have to go from the outside, and does he go with Tiz Magician, even though Tiz Magician doesn't go that fast, and maybe they do go pretty fast for a mile and a quarter? I mean, is that not his role on purpose, but is that what might happen here? And that really puts whoever's third or fourth in the perfect spot.
Well, and I mean, I think it is a good point that Ellis brings up. I mean, we haven't really talked about the pace of the race. For a mile and a quarter, this looks like a rather tepid sort of pace scenario. It doesn't look like you've got any horses who are confirmed. You don't have an authentic in the race. You don't have at this point in his career, a Life is Good. You don't have horses that are just confirmed front runners. So even if that may not necessarily be his ideal style, if I'm the connections and I see the way that he's coming into the race, I go, what do we have to lose? Go to the front, try to take him as far as they can. I agree with you, Ellis, that Tiz a Magician, he can't be far off. He's got to go. So if you have the two of those horses, it's one of those interesting spots where I could see this working one of two ways. The two of them hook up early on. They just, for whatever reason, they look each other in the eye and they just keep going. Nobody ends up relenting, and it sets up for these horses coming from a few lengths off of it. Or this becomes a very moderate situation up front. Everybody else thinks they're going to come back to them, and you get some completely wild result where Tis a Magician ends up, nosing out King Guillermo in the big cap. It's horse racing. Weird things happen, but I do think it's at least worth acknowledging that this pace, I don't think it's going to be for a grade 1 caliber race. Yep. We don't have, I think, grade 1 caliber speed. Let's put it that way.
Yep. No, very good point. Very good point. I'm going to go ahead and as promised here, you're looking right now at first. Let's see. Now you got the screen up on the races. I think we got the first bet stream here. There we go. There's first bet here. You can see 5 minutes to the big cap. I'm going to go ahead and put my $20 bet in. As I said, I was going to put it on idle. Let's hope we get a top 3 finish here. I think the horse has a chance at winning, but at the very least, I know that this horse is bred for the distance. I know that as some of these horses are backing up and getting tired, idle, I believe, will be still moving. We'll still have plenty of gas in the tank. So for me, idle was the pick here. $20 to win on the 6. We'll see. Hopefully we get a win there at a nice price. We got the races back up here. Idle right now 7-1. Matt, the horse that you mentioned again, Tis a Magician, 21-1. I don't think he's a bad use on this cashback play because if he gets loose, which he should, and if he can go a reasonable pace, again, you could see a scenario where this horse at least hangs on for a share, and if he does, look, you were in for $20 to win, 400 and change, and worst case scenario, you get your money back here. I don't mind using him in this play.
No, and if that's how you view the pace scenario playing out, where it doesn't look like it's going to be a spirited one early on, and maybe you can get out there, set some tepid fractions early, and save something for the stretch run. And we've talked about it in the past. It's not really a secret. It feels like pace is even more important in having early speed the longer the distances get, because everybody's going to be tired at the end of the race, and the last thing you want to do is try to have to come from 100 out of it. So I think again, I'm not going to talk anybody off of. The only time that I would sit there and say, look, what are we doing? You're betting, a 4 to 5 shot who really isn't any better than anybody else on paper. Maybe you want to rethink that sort of thing. At 20-1, I'm certainly not going to talk anybody off of a horse at that price, especially a horse who may actually be outright on the lead by himself in a race where, let's call a spade a spade. The horse is coming from behind. They've got things to prove.
Yep. We got a question here. What's the double here? We kind of teased this a little bit with Giorgio. George, you want to reiterate how you would attack this late double here at Santa Anita?
Well, I'm looking at my pick 6, which I'm still alive in like 4 pick 6 tickets because it was kind of favored there. And one of my tickets I got.
Come on, tell us more.
One of my tickets I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, so I'm still looking good there. And then I've used Patron de Oro, who is trained by JMS Stables, and I told them maybe today it's going to be JM Yes, because that one has been training really well. They paid 20 times the stud fee, which is an angle that comes in strong, a profitable angle year in, year out. So Patron de Oro certainly has been training well, got a lot of positives in his favor. And Bob Baffert really gave a strong push on his following C. He's got 2 in there, and he really made it pretty clear that following C is better than defunded and should run a really, really good race. And Mr. Impossible, of the ones that have run, obviously he's looked really, really well. So those are the 3 to concentrate on in the last race. But here,
any prices there? Any prices? You gave us a couple of short price horses there. Any potential outsiders you think have
the 12 Chaos Reigns? I have him on one of my pick 6 tickets. And Ron Ellis, he loves going to Valdivia, one of his favorite jockeys. They had a long history together. And that one ran a much better than looked 5th place finish last time. He was a little wide. I think that this time he's going to run much, much better. And as a long shot, I think the 12 is one to look at. But don't forget, I really think the 3 in this race, you're talking about long shots, has a really strong chance to win here. His last 3 thoroughgraph numbers were a 1, a 2, and a 0. So he is running really fast, and he loves this track. Don't leave him out at 25-1.
Kiss the day goodbye. We sort of dismissed him earlier. Ron Fox here is watching the show, is on board with you with the 3. Art Ramirez likes 257. Q Savage likes Idol. I like your thinking.
That's yours.
That's me. That's me right there. There you go. I don't know what Georgia's doing. There's no telling. By the way, for all of you slackers out there who haven't handicapped the race, you're just tuning in. You're saying, what the heck should I bet on here? I don't even know what these guys are talking about. We're dropping something in the chat right now. Check out the chat. It's the last second studying guide for all of you out there, the Santa Anita Handicap cheat sheet presented by First Bet. It's got a quick summary on each horse. Even if you're not a fast reader, I promise you'll get through it pretty quickly. It'll give you a quick summary on each runner, and you'll form an opinion pretty quickly.
You have 1 minute to do that. Go.
You have one, and I have faith in you. I have faith in you. You can do this. A new sack, big money, 300 on the 6 horse.
Wow.
Let us know who you're betting here. Another combo bet, 765. An exacta, 2-3. Everyone throwing money at this race here. A really fun edition of the Santa Anita Handicap. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and for letting us know who you're playing. Look, it could be Maxfield, and we could all be sitting here saying, well, that was pretty easy. Or it could be something crazy. Who knows?
We're due for a not chalk finish here because we've had 4 straight of them, right? So
yeah.
So what do you got, Dan? Idol? You're on the record, Idol.
I'm on Idol. I'm on Idol. I think in terms of looking at this board right now, I think to me at least he represents the best value as a horse that you know is going to relish this distance. A couple of these others I have some questions about. By the way, I want to welcome just real quick, not that he's actually in the video stream, but commenting, Russ Sapienza. Taste of Victory Racing, big congrats on the stakes win a few moments ago. Russ was so happy for you, and look, you can now rub it in Umberto's face. You don't spin Taste of Victory for anyone else. So congrats to you, Russ. Congrats to the whole team. Really, really exciting. Anybody else? Last thoughts here as they load in?
Independence Hall. I'm sticking with it. Independence Hall.
Okay. All right, we're going to pot up the audio here, give you Frank Maramati. We had a couple of comments who didn't want to hear our voice during the race call, so we will keep quiet as the gates open here for the big cash at Santa Anita.
And Coastal Defense. 2 more. They're in the gate. And they're off in the Santa Anita Handicap, sponsored by San Manuel Casino. King Guillermo and Tiz a Magician are the first 2 out. Independence Hall came away in the top flight, and so did Express Train. Maxfield will settle 5th in the early going. He's about 4 lengths off the pace. He's tugging just a touch. 2.5 more back to Coastal Defense on the inside of Idol, who's kept well off the rail, and Kiss Today Goodbye. King Guillermo will set the pace. He's in front by 1.5 lengths to Tiz a Magician. Independence Hall finds a little bit of room thanks to Tiz a Magician moving out, and he comes through to take 3rd. Express Train is just outside of him, 3.5 lengths off the pace. Another 2. Maxfield has settled down with 5 to make up. At the rail, Coastal Defense, followed by Idol and Kiss Today Goodbye. 7 lengths covers the field as they head to the 5/8 pole. Abel Cedillo has King Guillermo uncontested with a 2-length advantage. Tiz a Magician in 2nd. Independence Hall on a nice hold at the rail in 3rd. Express Train is just outside of him with 3 to make up. Then Maxfield together with Coastal Defense. Idol is outside of that pair, has 6 to find. And inside of him, Kiss Today Goodbye. They're heading to the 3/8 pole, still King Guillermo in front. Tis a Magician. Maxfield is let loose on the outside now. He's just behind Express Train, who's 3 wide and vying for the lead. Independence Hall is awaiting a seam as King Guillermo, the first to drop out of it. Behind them, Idol, followed by Coastal Defense and Kiss Today Goodbye. Express Train takes the lead into the stretch, and he opens up a length. Independence Hall running a big one. Maxfield on the outside, and Tis a Magician. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go, and Express Train is digging in. Independence Hall far outside. Here comes Idol with giant strides. It's Express Train. Idol's trying to get him. Express Train or Idol. Idol perfectly timed. Idol gets up under Joel Rosario to win the big cap from Express.
Dan Tordjman strikes again.
Great call.
What?
Great call.
Great call, Dan.
Dan Tordjman. Woo! Man.
Great call.
Look, that didn't look good for a second there, but this is a horse who takes a long time to get moving, and it took him forever. And I didn't think it was going to happen. And I will say, great call by you, Matt, on Express Train, who ran another just enormous race, just a sickening beat. Obviously, if you were on Express Train there.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it was a matter of, being too close to the pace, because I don't think that really was it. I'd rather take my chances and get first run. I think he just got beat by a better horse on this day. And the bigger thing for me is, what do you want to do? And it's, look, immediate aftermath, things can kind of, you get all caught up in the moment. But I don't know that I look at the result and am terrified going forward. And I specifically because of Maxfield. We talked about it earlier. Maxfield was flying a little bit under the radar, seemingly. Well, there was a real case to be made that he was kind of the third runner in the Godolphin stable as far as the dirt runners were concerned, behind Mystic Guide and behind Essential Quality. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't run, that he's not a very talented racehorse, but I think this is the sort of result that makes you look at it and say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe he is a notch below maybe the upper echelon, the Charlatans of the world, the Mystic Guides of the world, and some of those other types. But an exciting horse race, no two ways around it, and good for Richie Baltas and Rosario, who, look, a rider change, not to take anything away from the previous rider. Joel Rosario is as good a finisher as you can find on a racehorse, and you can't help but think that was part of what made the difference here today.
That certainly looked like a big part of the difference, because Saya's excellent rider, but that last race by Idol, Saya's just looked like he was uncomfortable through that whole race. Today, you get one of the strongest closers in the business in Joel Rosario and the Dominican dandy. He just looked fantastic. He was coming down the middle, and you knew he's going to get him because Rosario is just so powerful, and he got the job done. Great call by you, Dan.
Thank you. Ellis, what did Maxfield take a weird step early, or did he veer in, or what happened there?
Yeah, it's a little weird. I was also really surprised. I mean, talking about King Guillermo, that first quarter of 22.82, I didn't know what that was about. That was crazy because they don't run downhill on the dirt. So the whole race was weird, slow, and Joel is a good finisher. Maxfield, that's all I gotta say. First of all, Matt, he can't get a mile and a quarter. Hats off to you on that one. And Maxfield, he just never looked, comfortable. But even if he took a bad step, those two horses just went right by him.
Yeah, I think also
I'd have no apprehension betting Maxfield at a later date. I just think he had an off day. He did not look settled early. He took a weird step. He got behind the pack, and as you all know, in something of this level, those mistakes are very difficult to overcome. And in this case, it was impossible for him to overcome. And look how he closed anyway. I mean, so I would have absolutely no apprehension getting behind him at a later date. It just was not his day. And this is where you can win money. I mean, when a horse who's being bet like that has just that much of an off day, and it wasn't that much, and he still finished on the board, you're able to hit 5-1, 6-1s to go ahead of him. But I don't know. Something happened there early with him, and it took him a second to settle down. And it was amazing, honestly, that he was even a factor in the finish based off that start for him.
Now, I missed the whole thing entirely. Was it immediately out of the gate?
It wasn't immediately, but it was he wasn't off to a slow start, but it was as they were heading into that first turn, he took a bad step somewhere and he had to kind of be settled back. And then all of a sudden, King Guillermo ran out there like, his hair's on fire. And so now they're all chasing him, and all of a sudden he's behind. And, I honestly, frankly, after that start and where he was placed on the backstretch, I'm surprised he ended up hitting the board. And that's why I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm not off of him or think he's overrated or anything like that. I think he had a bad day. In this sport, you make a mistake like that, or you just have a moment like that, it is so almost impossible to overcome when you have quality horses with them. So I think Maxfield, all things considered, finished really well. Like all things considered, like who knows what was going on early. A jockey will have to tell you what's going on early with the horse.
We'll see the replay here in a moment. Look, I don't know how significant it was. I was watching it in the moment while watching all the other horses. It kind of looked like he sort of, I don't know if he hit the rail or just kind of ducked in and then out. It was just a really weird move. You'll see it on the replay. Like, I don't know if that cost him the win. I mean, I think that it probably, it certainly didn't help him. And to Bram's point, every little bit that goes your way in these races in terms of trip is significant. So we'll take a look at the replay here momentarily, and then we'll kind of further assess Maxfield. To the King Guillermo point, I think Matt, you touched on it before the race, like what the heck did they have to lose, right? I mean, just go ahead and send, and they did. And honestly, I didn't think it was a terrible ride, because even though that first quarter was super fast, they did slow it down a bit from there. But still, I mean, it's hard to overcome an opening quarter in, what was it, 22 and 3 or 4 going on.
22.82.
Yeah, tough to overcome that. But they did slow it down to the best visibility. Who was that? Cedillo, I guess. I mean, look, he did what he could there. They certainly weren't winning kind of lay in, 3 deep, stalk in the pace. So that was, probably gave the horse the best shot. They may want to consider different, different competition for King Guillermo moving forward, just so he has a chance to kind of regain some confidence. Tis a magician. Obviously, once he didn't get the lead, you had to figure he was up against it. And then, you got a couple other runners in here. We could talk about Independence Hall. I mean, was there for a good chunk of it. Just, maybe that Pegasus was his one shot. Maybe that Pegasus was the bullet he fired.
I mean, he was completely set up. Like, in fact, when they were making the turn, I thought he was going to win. And he just got beat. So, the other horses were better today than him. I got no excuses for him. Like, I think he was right there. He got beat today. And they were coming around that turn. I was pretty happy with the setup, with the way it was, and clearly how Maxfield had started with the race. Obviously, it was anybody's to take. And I think 2 better horses beat him today. That's all.
Yep. As we wait for this replay, we'll wrap up after this replay. We will take a look at it and we'll analyze it. Giorgio, we got some commentary and reaction from you, but we want to tease ahead a little bit as well. The big one still awaits us, the Santa Anita Derby on April 3rd. What else is going on at Santa Anita? What else should we stay tuned into?
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Hot Rod Charlie does, right? And that mile and 3/16 race. And then I'm expecting him, to be, one of the ones that moving forward, who knows? I don't think he'll be back for the big Derby here, but maybe we'll see him. But it seems like Life is Good has just scared a lot of people off today. Yeah. I mean, I know if I'm gonna, I've got a 3-year-old, I don't want to, face Life is Good again. So we'll see. It's still going to be exciting to see that Life is Good in the Santa Anita Derby, and I'm looking forward to that. Because I thought we saw a superstar run here today in that San Felipe.
George, what do you think about horses like Roman Centurion, Medina Spirit? I mean, do you ship them to Arkansas? What do you do? I mean, do you ship them elsewhere to maybe? I think Medina's got the points. At this juncture, I don't think he needs additional. Roman Centurion may need a few more points. What do you do there?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Bob's going to send Medina Spirit against Life is Good again. Right. It's like you said, maybe, find another place, maybe go to Arkansas, make some money over there, and, keep him away from Life is Good. You don't want to kill his spirit. And there's still a lot of preps coming up. A lot of these runners are going to need points, and so they're going to be looking for a place to run.
Ellis, any thoughts on how this whole 3-year-old picture is shaping up now?
Well, everybody's going to be ducking Life is Good. I mean, you might get some horses shipping in from the east. With the big upset today, which, I mean, it was so weird. Gotham's a 1-turn mile, but that big upset by Weyburn, the mild upset in Tampa, and Life is Good. I mean, it does certainly make him, for now, the odds-on favorite going in. Just with the impressive, if you judge horses by how many open lengths they won by, I mean, he's right now the odds-on Derby favorite. But, I had a good conversation with a good friend of mine, you may know him, Papo, and he said he doesn't look at these races every year until you get to 9 furlongs. It just doesn't matter to him a bit until you get the 9 furlong races. And that is a point. I mean, no matter how impressive a horse is, that kind of separates men and boys when you start getting that extra 16th of a mile. So it could be Life is Good, stretches out, and if he wins the next one, it's a sayonara situation. It's just another Justify. If not, if something happens in the San Anita Derby as happens in other races, then we're going to have to start throwing darts.
Like I told Bram, you and I were talking this week on our show, The Winner's Circle. And so we were talking about, how it's great to have the Derby winner. Yeah, that's nice. But it's even better when you've got the Derby exacta and the Derby trifecta. So look, it's early. We're not crowning Life is Good just yet. Lots of good runners out there, and lots of time. Greatest Honor, Essential Quality, lots of good horses out there. But you could start forming some opinions here. And at the end of the day, the goal is not to just find, an obvious 3-1 winner if Life is Good goes in as that sort of heavy favorite, but to find an opportunity to hit a big exacta, to hit a big trifecta. Those are the kinds of hits that you tell people about years down the road. And so I think that's the goal. As you're watching these races, take mental notes and take written notes, and then you're going to come back to all these replays before the big one, and you're gonna make some decisions. We're stalling a little bit. We're what they call in TV stretching. We're stretching a little bit here because we're waiting for this, the replay here. So let's take a look. We pointed out Maxfield, the 2-horse here, maybe a little bit of an awkward step going into that turn. So let's keep an eye on it here. Here it is.
Yeah, he just took an awkward step.
No, I honestly, I think that's kickback. I think he just didn't
like
really,
it. Yeah.
And in the minute Flo gets him out into the clear, he kind of rights the ship.
You'll see even here on the turn, it took him a while to really steady him and get him going again. And so it took a little bit. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the fact that it happened early enough, he was able to recover, obviously. But that's why I'm still impressed with how he finished based on what happened there. And I really am.
Yeah. And Bram, to your point, Independence Hall, I mean, he's tucked in, just, looks solid enough now. He
was right there. I mean, this was set up for him. I mean, the rabbits out there that weren't going to make it. And as he makes the turn, you'll see the lane opened up for him, like in the 2 path, and he just got beat. That's all. He just got beat.
His head is bowed right here, and I was thinking that he's loaded, and that gets to the point Matt had made. The distance limitations is all there was. He ran his race.
Here, Express Train made such a solid move, right? I thought he was going to win this race for sure. What a beautiful move by this runner who looked so impressive the race before, but Rosario just gunned him down. You can't talk enough about what a good job Express Train did in this race.
At this juncture, look at that hole for Independence Hall. If he had it, he was going to get it.
Yeah, he had no excuse there.
Yeah.
Does Express Train move a touch early? I don't know. I mean, I guess he had to keep Maxfield. He had to get the jump on Maxfield. Does he move a touch early? Does it make a difference?
I mean, I think it's easy to say that, but I don't know that you benefit by waiting for Idol to roll up alongside you and then you try to sprint with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have any. I just think he got beat, and I think it was a very credible performance. I don't know that there's really anything that would have resulted in a different outcome, to be honest. Yep. I think the best horse won today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a absolute joy. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to all of our hosts and guests here today, and including the people who joined us earlier. We had Blake Seidel from Cam Hats. Go to camhats.com for your Santa Anita Derby hats, for your Kentucky Derby hats. Ashley Mayo, of course, joining us, and Gary Fenton. Really exciting to have everybody on board with us today and all the guests that we have on here right now. We are back with Gulfstream Park Road to the Derby live with the Florida Derby at the end of the month. And then we're also back with Santa Anita Road to the Derby live for Santa Anita Derby on April 3rd. Until then, I'm Dan Tordjman. Again, thanking everybody for tuning in and thanking, oh, look at you, Giorgio. I love you. I love you. Ellis, Matt, Bram, Giorgio, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.